So for this week's Street Talk, we have got 6 stories, some larger than the others, and definitely the big draw this week was the Robert Johnny storyline, which reached its climax this week. Is it the end? I don't really know. It seems like maybe, but maybe not.
It seems like the sort of thing that you expect them to continue on Monday, and then you find out that they're over it.
It totally does. There's no reason why it should speak. Well, there's no reason why it should finish, but I could totally see Monday's episode just acting like nothing's happened. Yeah, there's been an armed man on the street, but we had that last week with old gangster Mick.
There's always
Penny around here with waving his gun around. Yeah, no big deal. I don't know, we'll have to see. So that was good this week. I enjoyed the Robert Johnny storyline. I got a few issues with it. Some of them COVID related, and they couldn't help. But I thought it was pretty good. We've got the Evelyn and Arthur storyline. It's all over, Gemma. Again, it could be the end, but equally it could just be a little hiccup in the road. But for now, Arthur's been dumped. He's been ejected. He's been cut. Arth cut is the storyline title for this one. Nice. We've then got a bit more of the Yaz fighting, which I don't know, maybe I should think of a better storyline title for that, but that seems to be what's going on this week. Then we had some more of the Todd story, the Toddly Different / Dill We Meet Again. We'll see whether our impressions of Dylan have improved after last week.
My impression of anyone Northern is always going to be a bit off.
People love your impressions so much. That's all we can do. Toya Battersby's, so Toya and the Abby Debbie Doodah returned. We thought it was maybe going to go somewhere where it didn't quite go on Friday, but it is hurtling directly to a seemingly very obvious trajectory and revelation, but maybe that's to come on Monday. But by gum, we can theorise about it when we get to that at the end of Street Talk. So starting off with the Robert Johnny story then. So we had the heist on Monday. I think I quite enjoyed Mondays for the silliness of it. I saw some people criticising it online, and I get people's criticisms, but I fairly enjoyed it.
It was Soap's first of many. It was Soap's first socially distanced poker game.
Yes.
It was Soap's first socially distanced man wearing a clown mask from a computer game scene.
Yeah.
It was Soap's first socially distanced shooting a police officer called Craig.
I know, it's like 71st, and yet people forget that, and they just want to criticise it.
I've seen it all before.
So, Johnny's had a bit of an accident overnight. He starts off by changing the sheets.
You told me this is what happened, and I was like, no, I don't think so.
I said, Johnny's wet the bed. Yeah. And then you said, no, he's not. And then
I didn't know why you said that.
Maybe you have. It happens to us all.
Yeah, look.
Maybe he had a naughty dream.
This is one of the things that I think worries a lot of people about ageing or being ill, is the idea that you lose control of your bodily functions. And
if you've got MS and you can't get out of bed.
I know, this is the thing we will have to stop worrying about. And the thing is, I don't think anybody would feel the need to be horrible to him about it, but you can't escape the feeling, can you, of feeling ashamed.
You don't want people to know.
No, but it's sad though. I'd like to be able to take that away from him.
Jenny goes back and forth on her feelings towards Johnny a lot this week, but she starts off Monday's episode pretty peeved at him because he's so secret about everything. Then Scott comes in. It's like he made a joke on Friday about Jenny always leaving the latch on or latch off, didn't he? But he seems like he's just in and out. Did they install a cat flap for him or something during the summer? I don't know. Anyway, Johnny says, I had an MS attack last night and I couldn't get out of bed. He's clearly not really looking like he wants to go through with this whole Bistro Ninja in tonight.
I mean, he's had an MS
Scott
attack.
Scott is still all for.
He doesn't even want to go down the shops right now.
Let
alone go on a heist.
Yeah, no heisting. He ain't got time for that. What if someone gets hurt, says Johnny. No chance of that, says Scott. So later on, Johnny dashes out. He's I can't remember where he goes. Maybe we'll find out. He's running out, despite Jenny saying, look, I need you for our Zoom quiz later. Topical. Well done. Faye is asked by Ray to help out at this meeting later. And that was one thing that let me down a little bit with this. I was imagining some big, packed out bistro, and I know they couldn't have packed it out properly, but the way that Ray had been describing it was like this big meeting for all of the movers and shakers of Weatherfield.
Something went wrong here, didn't it?
And
really?
it just turned out to be one bloke.
It wasn't impressive. It really didn't make sense. I mean, I'm not a poker player. I've learned how to play poker at various points in my life. It never sticks in my brain. I can never remember what I'm supposed to be doing. But I'm pretty sure that 2 is like a bad poker game.
Maybe the rest were just held up, stuck on the ring road or something.
Especially if you're going to go to the trouble of arranging it and hiring catering staff.
I know.
For a 2-man poker game.
Really didn't need it, but I can only imagine. I mean, this whole story, the way this climax to which we saw this week, I can totally see this should have happened back in, I'm going to say June time, maybe. I think this has been pushed back a good 5 months, and I can imagine it at some point it was a lot bigger. Can we just pause the podcast for a minute just to say you may be able to hear a purring cat at the moment.
You might be confused.
You might be confused later on. Yes, we are recording some of this out of order. There's a little clue for later on in the podcast, which we may have already recorded. Anyway, Faye's asked to help out at the this do tonight, and Craig is there sniffing around, going, "Oh,
I've banned that."
I know. Let's say Craig says to Faye,
"Is that why you're saying it?"
Craig's like, "You know that Ray is a bit of a perv, isn't he? So I'm going to come and check up on you later to make sure you're all okay, Faye." Fine. Later on, Gemma finds Jenny rooting about in the bin out the back of the Rovers, as she is convinced that Johnny is hiding something. Is he having an affair, maybe? Or is it something related to his MS? Is he secretly pregnant and he's left the kit conveniently at the top of the bin? Who knows? She's frantic about this. What kind of marriage have we got, she wonders. Meanwhile, the heist is going. Oh yeah, because this is when Johnny dashed out earlier. He dashed out to actually go heisting, didn't he? He had to go and get his balaclava and black Richard Hillman gloves and stuff.
Yeah, he's got to get the accessories.
They're in there some shady... I liked how they have a night shoot. There's not enough night shoots in Coronation Street, and I appreciated this. So they're in some shady alley, getting ready for it all. Scott's got a shooter. Johnny says, whoa, this changes everything. I didn't know that we'd be armed. I'm not going in with that.
We would just give them a stern talking to and they'd give us all their things.
I thought we would use our powers of persuasion.
I thought we'd say, listen, here, have you heard of a thing called communism?
I thought we would...
Why don't we just share the riches?
I thought we'd take them on in a poker game. We would use our heisty balaclavas to have really good poker faces, and we just win all the money off of them.
This reminds me of the sketch, I think it was... Is it Jordan Peele one where... Key and Peele, where they're planning a robbery at a bank, and one of them says, why don't we just get a job there and work there for 30 years and we can just get the money that way.
Well,
it was funnier when he said it.
Don't think for Ray and Johnny time is on their side. So he's going to go... Ray wants to just go in all guns blazing. Well, guns wagging about anyway. I don't think he intended to shoot anybody. But before he can get a chance to do that, oopsie daisy, Johnny's had an attack of the old MS. And he gets all wobbly and he's on the ground and he's... he can't go in.
To be fair, if it's stress-induced at times, not really. And
it wasn't one of these, oh, how convenient. Now, he's had MS for like 5 years on the show. We've never seen him. He's not mentioned it. But now he's had to just at the inconvenient time.
Say your theory of actually it was all a stitch-up was actually a really good idea. And is the only way that it makes sense as to why Scott was so insistent that Johnny would have to come with him.
I know, I don't think...
Actually, that has not happened, and I'm furious because this plan is ridiculous. No wonder Johnny dropped Scott the first chance he had and let him take the blame, because the first robbery was probably Johnny's idea as well. and God knows how it was staged. They probably decided to rob a bank during a security conference.
Johnny proved that he did not need more than one person. He didn't need Scott proved he didn't need a getaway driver.
No.
Because he was able to get away himself. And he didn't even need to get away very far because he was loitering around in the giddle at the end of the episode, and then returning to the scene of the crime more than once later on in the week.
And the thing to remember is the more people you involve in your heist, the more you have to split your takings, which is something I've learned from Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So Johnny did him a favour, really. Anyway, Johnny's been whacked over the head with this gun of his. I did wonder for a second whether Johnny would get shot. And out of all this is the thing with these waving a gun around situations, quite often you think, oh, no one's going to get shot, or if they do, they'll be fine. There's no danger or anything. Like, that character's not leaving. So in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, they could spring a surprise exit for Johnny. They could kill him off.
They could have done that.
Because, I mean, Richard Hawley isn't, all over social media or anything. He's got a Twitter account, but he doesn't use it anymore. Yeah. And he's not been used loads in the programme recently. He's a great actor. I think he's a real asset to the show, actually. But I don't know whether Coronation Street realises this. And I thought that maybe... I'm glad that he didn't, but I at points during the week I was thinking, they're not going to do it, are they? So when Scott was pointing his gun at him, I was thinking, blimey, this could be a real game changer. But he just gets whacked over the head, gets his phone stamped on, and that was that. He goes off to do his heisting on his own.
And I mean, how long did he have on his contract? I mean, that's the question. Was it a new phone, or was he trying to get... I thought you were talking about
Richard Hawley's contract.
I mean,
I can't remember what time of year he came in now, but it probably was on autumn time, actually, wasn't it?
That's when he got his phone. Because he could be like, I don't even care if you step on my phone because I'm getting a new iPhone.
I think all the actors are using their own phones at the moment for COVID reasons. Yeah, that's why, like...
So Richard Hawley's phone was stamped on?
Well, I think they probably had a stint phone for that. That's
very rude.
But that's why, I don't know whether you've noticed it, but more of the characters have got iPhones at the moment.
Oh, because they're the actual hoity-toity iPhone people.
Yes, like us.
Yes.
Anyway, Johnny's in a bad way. The first problem that I had with this evening's turn of events was that he wasn't in as mortal peril as I thought he could be in this situation. Because the next time we see him, he's just kind of crawling along Victoria Street, isn't he? He's got his fingers in the grating in the yard, and then Gary sees him and is like, "You all right, mate?" And Johnny's like, "I'm fine." And Gary's like, "All right then."
I'm just crawling home, Gary. Sorry if that means that you think I am lesser than you. I'm not drunk.
I thought that Johnny would at the very least be, seriously injured, maybe have to be discovered in amongst a pile of bin bags or something, but he was pretty much okay. He was able to find his way back home, lumbering off back towards the Rovers. Poker time at the Bistro. Pervy opponent there has a sight set on Ray, and then a mysterious stranger in a clown mask and a gun comes in.
What do you mean pervy opponent has his eye on Ray?
Faye. I said Faye.
Oh, I thought you said Ray.
No, he's like saying, "Oh, nice bit of skirt you got, souvenir or something," just to establish in one line, "I'm a lowlife like you, Ray."
Yeah, we're all villains together.
Yeah, I don't need any of this deep character development.
I would have preferred him to have said something like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to go in for 10 grand on this game because I just closed another orphanage."
Oh yeah, that would be much better.
Because let's point out, which you haven't made a note of, but this was a very, very high stakes poker game.
How much was it? I can't remember.
They were putting thousands of pounds in.
Okay.
They weren't even playing with fake little chips like me and my friends do.
Well, they didn't need a whole bistro full of people, did they then?
No.
Just two would be good enough. Anyway, so this mysterious stranger has come in. This stranger doesn't attempt to hide his voice or anything, but still Ray doesn't spot that it happens to be Scott.
How much do you think he knows Scott, though?
Well, they've had some scenes together in the previous week.
When we got sent that lovely Coronation Street pub quiz with Norris narrating.
Yes.
That we listened to this year. Mm. Driving around in the car, and there is a section which is guess whose voice this is, and you are not very good at it, so I'm going to give him a pass here.
Okay.
But it would have been fun if he had done an accent.
He would have. He doesn't know that Ray's not gonna recognise him.
Let's give it a little flair, like put the money in the bag, please. What accent would you do?
I'd have just gone full on clown.
What does a clown sound like?
Give me your money.
That's a witch.
Like that. Sorry, Halloween.
Put the money in the bag or I'll shoot you in the face.
Anyway, it's all very high stakes, and we're not just talking about the poker game here. Guns out. What's going to happen? Who knows? Johnny, meanwhile, is getting into the phone box and reports an armed robbery at the Bistro, where, meanwhile, Ray is keeping his cool, Faye's terrified. They hand over the money. That irks Ray a little bit because he tries to give him a little bit, and then the clown face is like, "Oh, give me some more. I know you got some more." So Ray's not happy that he's having to hand over more than he
Wants
to. He doesn't want to hand over any, does he? Officer Tinker on the scene. Craig is loitering around outside the community centre, and he gets a radio call to go and do some proper policing for a change.
He's like, yes.
Yeah, this is his moment. He's used to, like, you know, rescuing cats from trees, and
I don't think policemen do that.
what's a low stakes job that Craig probably spends most of his time doing?
They do. They go around to people's places of work and they say, "Have you been mean to Geoff? Are you harassing Geoff and saying that he's a toe rag?
Geoff's told on you.
If you do that again, I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you off again."
Craig's the sort of police officer that I imagine goes around to a lot of schools in the area.
And he says things like,
drugs are bad.
Drugs are bad, stay in school. If you don't, you're a fool.
Yeah.
I just made that up right on the spot. Thank you, Officer Craig.
So this is his chance to you know, properly earn his stripes. So he goes charging down the street, and the person on the radio is saying, "Don't go in the building, whatever you do, don't go in on your own.
You're not insured."
And Craig's like, "Put Faye's in there." So he goes in round the back way. He does a sneak in. And he goes into the bar and he says, "Scott, put your gun down." And then he pops his asp out, and then he gets his shoulder shot. So I think I don't know whether he was hoping to deflect the bullets with a well-timed swipe of the baton, but it didn't go so well for him.
Why have they not equipped our wonderful, brave officers with really long, pointy sticks in this age of coronavirus so that they can get scallywags?
Just poke him in the eye. He could have poked Gray in the bum.
Don't poke someone in the bum and then in the eye, because you'll give him an infection.
Anyway, Craig's been shot. Oh well.
He'll be all right.
Yeah, but he's lost a bit of weight recently, as they keep mentioning, so it's probably less cushioning than he might have had if he was shot this time last year.
I can't joke about that, it's rude.
Jenny finds Johnny in the back room later with a bloody head. He's managed to make it back to the pub, but he swears he's fine. And she's said, "Oh, I'm fed up of being fobbed off." Johnny's injuries from being smacked over the head are really downplayed for pretty much the rest of the week, aren't they? He lumbers back to the pub, he's bleeding, and then it's like, no, there's other drama to be dealing with now. "What's going on?" says Jenny. And he says, "Oh, I need to confess, Jenny, the time has come. I've been carrying around an awful secret for months. If you could just give me 30 seconds worth of screen time here, I will tell you everything." And what does Jenny do? "Oh, don't tell me it's your MS, isn't it? Oh, it's your MS. Oh, you had an MS attack. Oh, you poor thing. Why didn't I notice it was your MS before?
I'm a bad wife.
I was such a bad wife. Oh, Johnny, I'm really sorry that I didn't notice it's your MS. Oh, I can't. Oh, I've never seen it. I will stick with you no matter what." And Johnny's like,
"Oh,
yes, that's exactly what it is. It's my MS, of course." It's all over at the bistro later. Craig's in an ambulance. Faye's like, oh, my hero to him. Just to be extra dramatic, Craig faints just as the ambulance doors are closing, although he's fine later.
The paramedic's like, "Oh, so dramatic. I just leave him in the back." No, I didn't bring anyone with me, because he was supposed to be going to a high-stakes poker match round here, but we all got stuck on the ring road.
And then they all go to hospital there, and Faye's saying to Beth, "Oh, Craig was there for me, so I blame myself." And Beth's like, "Don't worry about it."
Beth was like, "Oh,
Beth was quite nice.
He's so wonderful. He's such a wonderful, brave person, and you're great." And then ruins it by muttering under her breath something rude about Faye. But up until that moment, she was actually being very relatable and nice.
Yes.
And kind of just sad about her lovely Craigie, but she does perfect.
I don't think that she seemed like as worried as you might be if you just found out that your son has literally been shot. But I'm sure she must know by now that if you getting shot's not the end of the world if you live in Weatherfield.
You can get shot in your shoulder and it's fine, but actually your lungs go there.
My lungs don't go up my shoulder. I don't sling them over my shoulder.
They're up here.
And
they're higher than you think.
It was close. It just got him in the
you think all this is just meat?
Yeah. What else is happening? Oh, the Zoom quiz is going on. Even though her husband has come in from the street bleeding from the temples, the show must go on, says Jenny.
She's like, "We literally have 2 people waiting to do the Zoom quiz.
Our
income relies on it."
I liked the idea of having a Zoom quiz. I really did. And they're keeping on the tradition of the Monday pub quiz, which is, if Jenny and Johnny are remembered for nothing else when their time as landlords and landlady comes to an end, it's that come hell or high water, they did a
There's
quiz,
bloody quiz on
every
Monday
night.
And don't you try to take that away from us.
Exactly. And I do wish that they'd had more characters doing the quiz, because they didn't need to be in a room together.
No,
I think
they could have done it at home.
Exactly. It's not very often that stories all kind of converge together, and I do think that would have been a perfect opportunity for every single storyline that was going on that day to have had everybody taking part in the quiz and getting the community together. Which they've not been able to do in the Rover since the pandemic.
What Coronation Street needs to do is to give everybody a sample of the wallpaper of their character's bedroom to stick on a pasteboard behind their heads to record various videos for things like that.
Exactly.
I mean, I know that's not fair on the camera people and all the production staff and everything to basically go just film it at home. But I mean, they've done it to the makeup people, haven't they? They've gone, well, we don't need you. They can do their own makeup now. So the natural progression is eventually it will devolve to basically them all sitting in their houses just
filming themselves,
improving. I mean, could it be better? It can't be worse.
Dear me. Anyway, Evelyn at least is looking forward to doing this Zoom quiz, but it gets cut short because Johnny tries to sneak off during it. Jenny hangs up on the call to give chase.
Like, actually, I forget about this.
And she doesn't really need to at the end because the end of Monday night's episode is Johnny doing a bit of skinnle skulking with Scott, who for some reason hasn't fled the scene. He's just loitering around in the alley saying, if that lad dies, it's on you, Johnny, not me. Ugh.
He didn't need to flee the scene, did he?
Why?
He didn't get caught. Nobody was looking for him.
Just needed to take his mask off and he'd be fine.
The policeman came through going, sorry guys, I don't want to inconvenience you lovely chaps standing around with a duffel bag and dark clothes on wearing exactly the same outfit as the guy that just robbed the bistro, but we're looking for a man who has a face of a clown. And you guys look like you don't, so I'm just going to leave you to it. But if you do see a clown, do not approach him because he might be dangerous, and he's also got lots of watches.
You might try to squirt his flour at you. Wednesday. Yeah, anyway, so I was just saying that having Jenny abandon the Zoom quiz was a bit of a waste of time because she didn't.
She ran off dramatically, and then to be only seen in the corner of a scene looking like the worst person ever at hide and seek.
Yeah, she was. Well, as you're not here, I'll give up.
I'll just rotate myself. Johnny, he's not here.
Wednesday, Johnny is on the phone to the hospital first thing, inquiring about Craig, but doesn't get very far because he's not a relative. Then Jenny comes into the bar and nags him to make an appointment with the MS nurse. Faye, meanwhile, has had much better success in finding out about Craig's condition because she knows that he's going to be okay, she tells Tim.
She probably lied and said that she was his girlfriend and it's going to cause complications later.
I gave birth in front of him. Does that count?
He's seen
my woo-woo.
He's seen my expanded vaginal area.
So, they'll tell you anything. That was an interesting bit, I thought, and I don't know whether it was any foreshadowing because Tim muses about whether he would have been brave like Craig, and gone in and tried to save the day if he'd known that Faye was in danger. And he's like, I hope that I'd never have to put myself in a situation where I find out. And I wonder whether at some point, maybe for the 60th anniversary or maybe around Christmas, Tim is going to have to be a hero.
No, I think it was just to say he's very brave. Tim, he fancies you.
I think that Tim is going on the up on the whole redemption thing, and being a hero around the anniversary might just get him back even more.
Rubbish.
You want to like Tim. I want to like Tim. I think that's good work. Anyway, Scott
Abby is the only
just
hero
can't
we need.
stay away. He comes round to see Johnny again and says, right, get your head sorted out. He didn't mean, where I hit you the other day. It's like, your head's not in the game, mate. If I get arrested for this, I'm going to take you down with me. Oh, even though Johnny didn't have anything to do with it on Monday. He knew that it was happening and he reported it. Maybe a little bit late.
Yeah, he did report it, didn't he? What did he do?
Yeah, he phoned up and then he went into the phone box.
But he did.
His mobile had been stamped on. He said, that was me. That was me.
What do you mean? No, anonymously to the police.
Yeah. But if the police come around and arrest him later, he says, remember that phone call?
No, don't forget. No. He's holding over the security guards.
Yeah, definitely. Which is still on the table.
Limitations?
There's no such thing in this country. It's still on the table by the end of the week.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a judge that bangs a gavel in this country either.
Later on, Johnny is on his laptop in the Rovers looking at an article about this robbery back in the 70s, or was it the 80s? I don't really remember. I don't know how he found that. Is that a newspaper article easily accessible like that? I don't know.
Some places
anyway,
some places aren't.
Jenny comes into the room. Johnny closes the laptop, not at all suspiciously, and after they have another little chat, he heads out. And that's when quite a few people must have thought, is Jenny going to open up the laptop? Is she going to find this article? Is there going to be any comeback for that? No. They just didn't have Johnny close down the window.
Is it the secret of a marriage to maintain an air of mystique, and therefore Johnny and Jenny prefer not to know too much about one another? Like, I bet you they don't wee with the door open in the bathroom.
I don't know.
So she probably thinks, oh, whatever he's looking at is probably best for me not to know.
He did look very suspicious, but she didn't... was not suspicious of him.
She's hoping he's looking at sexymardygingers.com, but he's probably not.
Have you been looking at my search history? Mystery woman comes up to Johnny in the street. This was weird. So he's been out.
Yes, this was silly.
He's been hanging around outside this old woman's house, like, Geoff on the prowl. And then she's noticed him, said, who's this dodgy looking man hanging around outside my window? I'm going to get in my car and follow him back to his home and ask him what he's doing. She's pretty brave, this woman. If I was Scott, I'd be getting her to be on my next heist. She has no fear. Basically, it turns out that she is the mum of this bloke, Grant, who was the security guard that he done run over in the heist in the 70s. And so he was looking around to see whether Grant was still okay or something. So they go off to Victoria Gardens together, and this lady soon finds herself with complete verbal diarrhea and is telling him her whole life story. Well, Grant's life story and death story, it turns out, because after Grant was run over like a dog in the street, to which you immediately called out to the TV. Who runs over dogs in the street? What a psychopath.
She's a psychopath. What do you mean run dogs over? Like,
again,
she just
another point
from dog to dog on the way to Tesco.
Another reason why, if I was Scott, I would pick her to be my getaway driver.
Yeah, got it.
Exactly.
Like,
dogs in the street, don't worry
way.
about it.
She's like, I can only really drive somewhere if I know there's a dog between me and it.
So this lady is talking Johnny's ear off and saying all about Grant. He got hit by this car, by this nasty getaway driver. He wasn't the same after he got out of hospital. He got depressed, he started to drink, split up with his fiancée, and he eventually died of cirrhosis of the liver.
Really young.
And Johnny's there going, yeah, that was on me. He was thinking. I saw a bit of praise on the Facebook group for this woman, and I thought that she did a fine job, this actress, but in the back of my head, I was just thinking this is a little bit too convenient that she's spilling the beans and just saying everything possible to make Johnny feel awkward. I don't think in real life she would have told him everything like that.
Did you say anything about the fact that why is she there?
Yeah. She went and said, who's this guy? I'm going to go and...
Yeah.
It's a man. I'm going to go and talk with him.
Like, if I saw a man and I was concerned enough about the fact that he was outside my house to think there's something up here, and he left, I wouldn't follow him in my car and confront him and then tell him my life story about how my son died of cirrhosis of the liver.
But didn't he say that he used to be a friend of Grant's or something? It's all
very, very convenient that she gave him all of this information.
Yeah.
So his name is Grant, right?
Yeah.
So Grant, according to Grant's mum, all he did was get upset and die. I mean, for God's sake, I hope Grant didn't have any ambitions or life streams or things that he actually achieved in his life, because his mum thinks he's a loser who just died a drunk.
I thought you said live streams there. I didn't think they had such technology back in the 70s.
He could have been a YouTuber. Do you know what I mean? She says nothing about him apart from the tragedy that befell him. I'm sure you
he's a
would say
very
that in
nice
real.
boy.
I'm sure you would say that in real life. I just find it very convenient that all of this information was only.
It was just
very
a little bit on the
targeted.
nose, I thought. Yeah, very, very targeted towards making
And I
Johnny
think
feeling as guilty as possible.
This is definitely an artifact of COVID because there's no way this would have happened. It doesn't make any logical sense that she did this.
No, she would have
In the original, surely she caught him standing around outside.
invited him in for a cup of tea.
Oh, come inside. I haven't had a man in the house since my
and
son died.
There probably would have
Nigh
been
on
pictures of him on the
20 years
mantelpiece
ago.
still, wouldn't there?
Oh,
and his
that's
security guard's badge in a frame.
With like a tyre track across his. He
Anyway.
died of cirrhosis of the liver because a man ran him over. Looks somewhat like you, but much younger, so it can't be you. Anyway, would you like a biscuit?
Tell you what, you look really like that chap off Love Actually, the Deputy Prime Minister.
Always liked him.
Anyway, Johnny,
Anyway.
feeling suitably shamed by his actions, returns to the pub. He needs to talk to Jenny. He just hopes that she doesn't hate him because, shut up, Jenny, I'm going to confess. Don't stop me.
Don't stop me now.
I've not always been nice guy Johnny, he says. Mr. Everyone's my friend Johnny Connor. How many friends has Johnny got?
I've not always been this
I can't
carefree.
think of anyone who is
Mr.
Johnny's friend.
I've not always been this carefree, Mr. Tolerate everyone who comes into my pub and don't verbally abuse them.
Yeah.
Johnny Connor.
Yeah. I've not always been squeaky clean. I used to be a dodgy guy on the market. And then
On the market?
Yeah, he said
Or like a day trader?
he was selling dodgy stock and stuff or something. I can't remember. And then Scott came along and got me into proper dodgy business with armed robberies. No, it wasn't armed, was it? It wasn't armed back in the day, I think they said. But he had
was
his
armed
car.
with a lethal car.
Yeah. So I'm a bit confused in my head
Wonder
about
what kind of car
what
it
their
was.
history was, because when we were hearing about them months ago, when there were two guys with a ladder or whatever it was they were describing themselves as, I got the idea that they got into fairly
that sounds
dodgy
like
business.
a really awful podcast.
Two men and a ladder. I got the idea that they got into deeper dodgy business more often than this, which makes it sound like it. This
So they
is
had
the-
one score and then
it happened
Johnny
once. I don't know.
ran a man over and he gave up.
Anyway, he says, I bailed before I could get a criminal record, though, unlike Scott, and now there are scores to be settled. So he basically tells Jenny pretty much everything, apart from the whole I ran over a getaway driver and he later died and it's all my fault kind of thing.
Well, look, I'm glad you've told me that. And the main thing is we don't have any more secrets, okay?
Yes, no more secrets. She twigs that he's done the bistro job, storms out.
He didn't
Scott's-
do it, though.
What? No, that Scott did the bistro job and that
yeah.
Johnny was involved in it in some way. She storms out of the pub. Johnny's there in the bar talking to Emma and he gets the Jenny death glare treatment. What an honour. And then
I know.
she leaves. That they're reserved for only the creme de la creme of lowlifes.
scum and villainy.
Yes. So, when Scott can get a word in edgeways between Dev and Emma kissing his bum about what a great upstanding citizen he is, Scott says, I'm leaving town, you'll never see me again, I'm out of here. Over at the hospital, there's a few hospital things. Beth blames Craig for acting idiotic just to impress Faye, sorry, not much there. Meanwhile, the main action back in the pub, Jenny's back home. She stormed out and then came back again pretty quickly, didn't she?
Well, you've got to make sure you made an impact, haven't you?
She tells
Got to
Johnny
see who noticed.
that she despises him.
Rude.
And I kind of got what Jenny was saying here. And it's not just the whole, you've been keeping these secrets from me, but she says, yeah, so you know that time that you stayed in France and I came back to look after the pub and I was living with a mad criminal who could have pulled a gun at me at any second. You got any regrets about that, Johnny? Any maybe? And then she said, COVID protected me when he had to leave. Again, not very many characters have actually said COVID or coronavirus,
Oh, she
have
got
they?
to say the word.
So she's on
of
the
day.
list. She did. She tells him that she's not the man I married anymore. We have no future.
Oh.
And then she later finds him packing. I was a bit confused what was going on here. Was he packing like a bag for her so that she could go and hide while Scott was still scot-free?
I don't like scenes like this where a character is doing something dramatic and not explaining why they're doing it because it's more dramatic.
The idea is
yeah.
He's gonna shop Scott.
Yes.
But just in case he comes round looking for her, Jenny, you need to go and lie low for a little bit.
Yeah.
Jenny doesn't like that idea. She doesn't like, because if Johnny goes and confesses, then he's going to get thrown in prison. She's going to be abandoned, left to run this place on her own. Annie Walker managed fine. I don't know what she's moaning on about. Later on, and she seems to have changed her tune, though. This is one little problem I had with Jenny this week. She's kind of flip-flopping a little bit about whether Johnny should confess or not, and whether she hates him or not. But final scene of Wednesday, she's saying, look, you didn't go through with this bistro plan. You shouldn't have to pay for it. Then they find out about Scott leaving from Emma, and Jenny says, right, if this is over and if he's gone, if he's never coming back again, I am willing to let this matter drop. I love you about that much more than I hate you. Which, by the way, listeners, was my line of the week. Very nicely written, very well delivered.
That I feel that I often want to say to you, but I've never been able to vocalise.
And now you've got the words to use.
Now I've got the phrase. I just want to point out, you made this scene very casual, but actually this was a very dramatic and teary scene.
Yes.
She was very upset and torn.
She was proper narked.
She was like, I've got a choice between living with a man I don't really know or losing my husband and my life partner and my business partner. And she made the decision to keep him in her life, but she's had to compromise a lot, including what she thought her marriage was supposed to be. And so she was very, very upset. You kind of made out that she was like, look, I've thought about it and I'm not going to get weird.
It was great. No, I enjoyed really this is serious stuff. I thought it was.
Richard Hawley.
Good stuff.
Good.
Friday, Jenny seems in more of a forgiving mood again.
Because on toast.
She's relieved that he's told her everything.
I'm just
no more secrets.
No more secrets.
Let's try and move on from this.
Yeah.
Mr. Scott, You'll Never See Me Again, comes back to the pub to see Johnny again. He's not there, though, but Emma is, and she says, Johnny is not to be disturbed. That's a bit like when Annie Walker used to have her migraines, isn't it?
Well, she even made a reference to him being some kind of Victorian...
I can't remember what she said, what the word was.
A lady or something, reclining on the settee.
Anyway, Scott puts his... bag over on the bar, but she's just wiped this, so she goes to take it off, and he's like, well, I don't want my bag.
Don't touch my special bag.
Yeah, so he's got something in his special bag.
Yeah, if I was her, I would be like, it's porn.
Do you remember that episode a few years ago when Nick had a bag? A sports bag that everybody commented on throughout the whole episode. And then at the end of the episode, it turned out he had a load of wonga in it.
Lovely.
Well, Emma has seen something odd about this bag. So
she goes to get Johnny, but meanwhile Jenny's heard this.
Yes. And then she comes and tells Scott. She stands up for him, good for herself, good for her. She says, Johnny has told me everything. Emma is listening in as Jenny is telling Scott, I know about everything. I'm standing by my man. Sting your hook, mister. I don't want you around doing me anymore, but I'm not scared of you. And he says, that's the security guard. Has he told you about that? So then she finds out about the whole security guard thing. He gets a phone call, goes outside. Jenny goes off somewhere. There's a lot of switching places, lots of ins and outs.
There's a lot of, we can't all be on the set at the same time.
Yeah, I know, even though there's only three of us. Emma goes to have a look in Scott's bag. He comes back and catches her at it. Says, you stupid girl, you really shouldn't have done that. Because it's filled with mobile phones and watches and a gun.
And money.
And money, yes. He swears he's not going to hurt her and offers to give her $5,000 for Oliver's fund. I presumed, and I don't know whether they said this particularly.
I think it's obvious.
But it was implied, if you don't tell anybody about my phones and gun and money, I will give you money for Ollie's fund. Oh, decisions. Should Emma take the bistro cash?
No.
To help
there's
pay
no point
Ollie's
in giving
legal fees.
Money to Oliver.
Well, it's all the hearing fees, isn't it? Anyway.
Yeah.
She's so Johnny finds Jenny out the back later. Scott's gone at this point. I was wondering whether Scott would burst in. They go off and
have a meeting, don't he and Emma?
He and Emma do have a Ginnell meeting, don't they? So Jenny's down in the dumps at the back, and he tells her about the security guard. He says, look, I just clipped him with the car and then I ran. And Jenny says, oh yeah, well, Scott already told me. She is mad that he's kept the secret from her when he promised no more secrets earlier. So he then tells her about the guy dying of liver problems, and Jenny's heartstrings are well and truly tugged by this tragic tale.
He also pulls out the we all know what it's like to have a dead kid card.
I know.
God. Shameless.
He wants to go and confess to the police. She says, no, don't go and confess to the police. So this is when Emma and Scott have their ginnelled chat. He gives her an envelope full of cash. She's looking very guilty about this. I wonder if that was the exact same envelope of cash that they had Geoff and Daniel and Nikki using a few weeks ago.
Well, it's for the greater good, isn't it?
It is.
The greater good.
Johnny goes... Oh, yeah, Johnny's going to go to the police station, but just as he gets in the car, he sees that Craig's home. He's shot 2 days ago. He's fine now, everybody. He's got his arm in a sling.
It's just meat.
It's a bit like, when Wile E. Coyote falls off the cliff and then the smoke cloud goes and he's just got a couple of plasters over
it. Stick a plaster
Craig's
on
like, arm in a sling, I've been shot, look at that.
Shot in the line of duty.
And then, so he goes off to the police station. What happens next? I'm lost. Emma tells Steve that she's transferred.
She goes to Steve and she goes, right, I've given 5k to Imran for this hearing. Let's keep it between us.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's why I was giving you no more secrets as well. Jenny finds a message from Johnny later on the table. He's written it down on a piece of paper. She panics, rings him up, just as Scott comes in. And he's got his gun and he's pointing it right at Jenny Bradley. Oh no.
Yeah, so Johnny's gone to confess.
Johnny's gone to confess. Scott just can't stay away, can he? He's there pointing his gun at her. He obviously wanted Johnny, but she'll do.
Scott is such a moron. This makes no sense.
Why?
He should have run away ages ago with all of his bag of money and watches and phones.
I guess he just wanted to take Johnny down with him. I don't know. He speaks to Johnny on the phone. He should have
shot him when he had the chance then.
He wouldn't have shot. I don't think he's got it in him.
Shoot him in the knee. That would really hurt.
I don't think he's got the balls. Scott speaks to Johnny on the phone. He says, don't hurt Jenny. And Scott says, I'll take your wife hostage. You come back to me now. So Johnny comes back. And he's given a little moment of looking at the police station, isn't he? Which is like, oh, do I go in and tell the police station first?
Do I go to get help from professionals because my wife's being held at gunpoint?
Yeah, or do I do it
I was
solo?
Literally just about to confess this anyway. So if they go to save my wife, I won't be affected in any way negatively than I would have done if I had confessed. Except now I've got their help.
Well, exactly.
No, I'll just go by myself.
No, well, he doesn't, does he? I mean... He kind of does.
Well,
I think the police station... Johnny gets to go quick way.
He must have gone... Not with the police. Because if he ran into the police station, my wife's being held hostage. Come, follow me. The police wouldn't go, yeah, you go in first.
You go first. We'll come after you. We're just finishing this crossword.
Better way to diffuse the situation than to have the man's wife run in.
Husband. The woman's husband run in. Yeah, they just said, you go in.
You go first because I'm worried because a guy a policeman just got shot the other day.
Yeah, we hear there's a cop killer on the loose. You're not a policeman, have you,
I'm a bit scared. I don't want to worry you, but
Johnny does go in. If you see a man
who looks like a clown, run away.
Johnny does go in. And Scott says we're all going to go out in a blaze of glory.
I kind of like this. There was a kind of mini standoff, but that only one person had a gun, and it was definitely like a triangle of doom.
It was
because they were all socially distanced from each other.
2 meters
Jenny
away
and
from
Johnny
each other
were like
in that
either
triangle.
end of the bar, and Scott was at the other end with the optics, just helping himself to whiskey.
Yeah,
which I thought was great.
So it was like, who's he going to shoot first? It's like, do I shoot Jenny and you can watch her die and that'll pay you back, or do I shoot you and then you'll die and that'll pay you back, or do I
shot him before if he was going to shoot anybody? I thought this was great. I just wanted to say, Sally Matthews' performance as Jenny, just kind of wordlessly whimpering as a man stood there with a gun pointed at her. I thought that was really, really good, because often you'll have a character and they'll have a gun pointed at them and they'll say some kind of quip, or they try to be brave or do something. In real life, we'd all be there crying, a man standing there with a gun pointed at you, you just go you wouldn't do anything or say anything.
Some characters would have been
if it had been Abby, it should have gone, I hope you're quick, because if you shoot one of us, the other one's going to bring you down.
I'm just thinking of, like, the episode...
I'll throw pork crackling in your eye.
The episode where those two...
wasabi peas up your nose.
Yeah. The episode where the two guys break into the Rovers and Annie Walker's there in bed and she's, like, not having any of their nonsense. She wasn't scared. And I could almost imagine as well if Bet Gilroy had been burst into by an armed man, she'd have
thrown an earring at him.
I don't, but I think it was in Jenny's character to be a bit whimpery about it.
No, I know, but I think what you said is what the writers like to do, which is to make a fantasy out of what would it be like, you know, in if you were cool and how you were quick and calm in a situation. Like, they could have written something for Jenny to say that would have been cool, but no, they just had her cry and look like she thought she was going to die, and I thought that was much better to watch than some kind of stupid, like, you can't kill both of us, Scott, who's it going to be?
Yeah,
you know I mean?
I thought it was good.
I already decided I wanted a divorce, and do what you want.
Again, I was on the edge of my seat during this one, and I knew that they weren't going to kill Jenny. Absolutely knew that Jenny has not been written out.
But you know that if she was...
Because you know Alya Matthews is still going to work.
No, yeah, I know, but if you know that if she was... Sal would not let you know.
Oh, God.
You know that, don't you?
I need to be prepared.
No. She would make sure that you didn't find out.
I know.
So don't be like that about it.
I'm not being like anything. I knew that she was okay, but I did wonder whether she would get shot, because it was perfectly plausible a development for this scene, this storyline, for her to have been, you know, shot in the head and then had a personality transplant or something, or, you know, spent next week in hospital. So I didn't think that she was completely safe. And then I thought, again, like I said earlier, Johnny, I've got no idea how long he's going to stay in Coronation Street for. He could have been a surprise shooting. And also, Scott could have turned the gun on himself.
Yes, I know. You said to me, "Oh, what if they cut to outside and you hear a gunshot?"
That's what I was hoping for. That would have been good, because as it was a bit of a, oh, that's it then. Because all that happens is Scott throws the gun on the floor, walks outside where he's accosted by these two armed officers who make him lie down on the floor, and he's like going, "Rah, I will tell everybody about your nasty past, Johnny." And then that's the end of the episode, which was fine, but I think it would have been a much, much, much stronger end to the episode if there'd been a gunshot cut to outside and we'd have been left over the weekend wondering who has survived.
Yeah,
and
but
even
would
if
you
at the
have
end
said,
of
it's a cheap cliffhanger because it was resolved immediately?
I suppose if it had come to Monday and he'd just, like, you know,
shot the whiskey.
Yeah.
And gone, there you go, that's 50 quid down the drain.
But if this is
and
the
they're
end...
like, no.
If this is the end of Scott...
Not the top shelf.
And I don't...
You maniac.
I don't know whether this is the last that we'll see of Scott. But if it is, then he might as well have shot himself.
No, it won't be, because he's going to reveal to the police, and what's his face is going to get in trouble.
I hope so, because it... But we did say earlier on in this discussion... This could be the last we hear of it for now. It really, really shouldn't be.
Honestly,
there's quite a few unanswered questions.
I know it would have been a cheap cliffhanger, but I really think they missed a trick not having the gunshot, and then.
I mean, that was a bit like they had with the Joe Donnelly, wasn't it? When he was holding exactly Stan hostage.
Yeah, he held Stan hostage, and then he killed himself in that scene.
Yeah, that was brilliant. It's really interesting, I think, how much more danger and tension we felt here than we did last week with Mick and Eileen and the gun, where there was no sense of danger whatsoever. This is still no, you know, there have been more tense life or death, oh no, he's got a gun situations on Coronation Street in the past, no doubt about it. Not just that Joe Donnelly thing, but even like during some of the Pat Phelan stuff, you have been more scared when characters have had guns pointed at them. But I think they did a fairly good job this week of
sometimes I think Coronation
making
Street
it scary intense
is good at managing your expectations and understanding that you are viewing the show as somebody who is aware of the world surrounding Coronation Street and the actors and the contracts and who's there and who isn't and what the actors are doing in their lives. Sometimes they're really good at working around that, and sometimes they're not. And an example of them not thinking that we're that clever or being inside the viewers' brains was with Eileen and Todd, because we know, logically speaking, that they're not going to bring Todd back to get shot by a gangster.
Yeah.
and they're not going to bring Sue Cleaver back off of like furlough to just shoot her either, because she's not been in it enough. There's certain things that logically as a viewer. This worked because we don't know whether Richard Hawley would have left the show. We didn't know.
Yeah, and
what I'm
Scott
saying
was
is
a more effective villain than Mick ever was. Although I still don't, rank Scott anywhere near the highest of threatening.
Well, I've said before about
big
villains
bads
and
on
having
Corrie.
to have their motivations fleshed out, and they've done a better job with him than they have previous villains who have paper thin motivations. And at the moment, Ray is a very good example of somebody who's doing something for no logical reason.
I would say that Scott's motivations are maybe cardboard thin.
Yes,
at best.
that he has at least motivation and a reason, and they thought of a backstory as to why he's doing this.
Yeah, I think this would have been better had it happened back in June, July time, when I think it was originally going. This whole story has been unfortunately stretched out longer than it needed to be, and I don't think the payoff was as good as a storyline that's been going on for 8 months.
I guess the point though is that we're left now with an even more dire situation really for Jenny and Johnny than they had. I mean, obviously being threatened by a gun is pretty bad, but now they're in a situation where their whole lives are in jeopardy.
Their whole lives are in jeopardy. Their relationship is in jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
Is Johnny going to get sent to prison? The thing is, I still think, even though I was worried for is Johnny actually going to survive at some points on Friday, now I'm thinking he's not going to go to prison. He'll be all right.
I know, but will he have to go through the trial, and will it make him more sick? And will they sort of say, oh, we can't put him in prison because he's so ill? Or will they say something like, oh, the widow doesn't want him to be... Not the widow. The grieving mother doesn't want him to press charges. I don't know.
See, that all feels like boring follow-up.
What can he actually be charged with? Negligently driving a vehicle in
he can still be charged with being involved in a violent robbery.
I know, but the thing is, what does that entail these days? Especially considering the coronavirus is rampant, and you're probably trying not to put people in prison, and you're going to look at him and go, look, he's older, he's got MS, we can't look after him in prison very well. Are we going to kill him by accident by putting him in there? Because believe it or not, there are countries where people care about stuff like that. What benefit is it to the greater good of society to put this man in prison? Or can we just give him a suspended sentence? Can we put him on... Is it, parole?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't decided what I want. Because I
don't know enough about the justice system to know, but not every single thing now is resolved with a custodial sentence. And I would say if there was an option for them to not give him one, they probably would choose that, because he hasn't done anything since.
It's been a very long time. You're right. I don't know what I want for this, because if they just sweep it under the carpet next week and forget about it, that'll be a cop-out. I don't really want a long and drawn-out court case, but I do want to see more for those characters to do, because I had been complaining for a long time that Jenny and Johnny had been seriously underused. But if they just give him a slap on the wrist, then it'll feel like...
What was all that about?
He was responsible for a man's death, tangentially. But I don't want him to get punished by it. This is what happens when they try and make things a bit too sensational, I suppose, on soaps, that then the consequences have also got to be ramped up, and if they're not, then you're left feeling
true.
Oh, all right, then that's not really realistic.
The thing is that he was responsible in a two-prong approach here for this guy.
Mm.
He ran him over, but he
just clipped him.
But he also sells alcohol.
Yeah,
which is what, and I mean,
he probably sold him.
Let's be serious here. How many deaths have Jenny and Johnny been responsible for?
Well,
over the years, the amount of alcohol they drink on that street.
Never mind that. There were almost 2 people responsible for hit and run related deaths.
I know.
It was 2 years ago, almost.
She was running Liz over,
exactly.
She should be to Johnny. Look, I know what it's like.
I'm surprised that hasn't been brought up, to be honest.
I can't really... I hold my hands up here, Johnny. I can't really be too mad at you. I know how easy it is to run someone over.
I wonder whether it will be, because... never mind the criminal justice side of things. Jenny and Johnny's relationship is proper on the rocks at the moment, and I think they both want it to work, but she says she can't trust him, and I wonder whether he'll just say to her, well, that time you ran Liz over, people in glass houses, blah blah blah.
This would have been a good opportunity to have trotted Kate out. Because as annoying as she was, she would have been the person to have pointed out to Jenny that actually she's already run someone over herself.
Yeah,
and who knows if that wasn't something that really made Johnny realise that they were meant for each other. Because he would have looked at her running Liz over and gone, yeah, been there, done that. I feel like she's my soulmate. We've both run people over.
Would you like to see this story continue with their relationship going through, these troubles, and will they get through this, or do you just want them to kiss and make up? Because I'd probably rather that.
See, this is the trouble with demanding soaps are realistic and worry about real issues and things, because they would be going to couples therapy and talking about their feelings, and he would be in trouble with the police, and all of that's just exhausting and a bit dull. I don't really like watching people argue with each other who are in a relationship. There's something so
all I want from my
it.
landlord and landlady of the Rovers, played by Johnny and Jenny, is a united front, a strong couple, a welcoming and sturdy pair of captains at their good ship
and we
Rovers.
Want a bit of banter and a bit of bickering, but ultimately love and commitment.
So which is why I kind of hope that it gets brushed aside.
But that what they do
it'll be
say
lingering,
about
won't it?
It's like if your marriage is in trouble and you're too old to have a baby to fix it, why not get involved in some sort of crime?
They do say that, it's true.
Because that will bring you together.
I don't know. I hope that they can get through this. It would be utterly ridiculous to split these two up, because they're a good, sturdy, strong couple.
But also, not only that, I don't know. If they were to, it's clear to me that they would probably keep Jenny in the Rovers.
Yeah.
Because I think she's a much stronger landlady and a bit more of a focal point, because the women are always the stronger characters. She's got more history on the street anyway. And I think they would get rid of him before they got rid of her behind the bar. But there would always be that little place. I mean, I know Annie did it for years without anybody. And Liz was pretty good because she had Steve. But there needs to be somebody else on the team who is a sort of an equal partner in the business. Because when you just need more than one person, don't you, behind the bar. So if Johnny went, there would be a vacuum there. And I wouldn't know who would fill it. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Gemma. More Gemma.
Let's not talk about that.
No, I agree that Jenny is... They need to keep her there no matter what. But I'd much rather it was the family, the husband and wife. Because I'm trying to... nothing more to say, really. I just think that they absolutely need to make up and come back stronger from this. Although... I just don't like how they'll have... She'll have some ammunition to fire against him next time they decide to have a fight about it. And I was going to say something else, but I can't remember what it was. So I can't remember. I wonder as well whether... I just don't want there to be drama between them. Not mega drama. And this is another consequence of having... life or death, major crime. Why can't they just have normal people issues that they can get over?
Well, because we wouldn't watch it then, would we? Everyone would say it was boring and low stakes, and then EastEnders would be like, "Whoa, we've had a live, episode where we actually killed one of the actors. Do you want to watch that?" And everyone go, "Yeah, brilliant."
I hope that Johnny doesn't end up taking Jenny for granted, because she's been quite forgiving, and I think the last thing that she was saying is, you need to not tell the police about it. I mean, the police are going to find out about it now if Scott decides to try and drop him in it.
What could possibly happen on Monday? I'm trying to imagine, Scott's there on the ground and they're like, "Bomb police, to get that back, he's got a shooter." And then Johnny comes out and sort of locks eyes with Scott and kind of does the neck gesture, "Don't say anything, just keep your mouth shut." it'll all be cushy. Or like he's got the bag in his hand with all the money in it, and he's sort of going, I'll keep this for you if you keep stum.
We haven't talked very much about I can't remember the actual heist on Monday. What were your thoughts on that? Apart from the fact that they really should have had more people there.
It really didn't make sense why they were playing poker, and we had a big deal about Faye had to be there. I mean, the only reason Faye was there was so Craig could run in. There must be some kind of limit for how many people you're allowed on set at a time.
Oh yeah,
that's the only thing that makes any sense as to why you couldn't have an extra person playing poker. I just can't imagine that people genuinely have high stakes poker matches with just 2 people unless it's a date.
Yeah, true. I suppose
I thought it was fine.
I thought it was fine.
It was kind of funny that they had the mask from Payday 2.
Yeah. I didn't recognise that's what it was until somebody posted about it on the group the next day. But yeah, it was fine. I think some people had problems with it. I quite liked it. I like anything that's, dark and shady and nighttime.
It is another one
helps.
of these things where if you look at it too closely, it all starts to not make any sense. But
let's not look at it too closely then.
It's probably not a good idea.
I was just really pleased that Jenny and Johnny got the A story this week.
Yes,
it's been a long time coming, the climax to this.
I mean,
it was all right, and there were some good performances. You can't complain about
it too much when there's Jenny and Johnny's storyline and there's a gun and money in a bag and people taking watches off and policemen getting shot and
I just want it to be a long time before they use the whole gun thing in Coronation Street anymore, because there was a gun last week, there was a gun this week, there was a gun last Christmas with Derek.
Honestly, what they should do sometimes is have a big board, right, of soap cliches or soap tropes, and when you use it in a story, you take it off the board and it can't be used again in a year. Like, we're taking cancer off there and it's not going back up for 5 years. We're taking off guns and you can't have another one for a year.
There'd be some soap tropes that are allowed to move on to gets used once it used
there's
2
like
or 3
the year
times.
Ones, there's the 5-year ones, there's the weekly ones, and the weekly one is the person standing at the other end of the street listening to a conversation.
Well, also somebody saying
seen.
I'm about to confess something, and then somebody else tells you, no, I think I know what you're about to confess, because that's what Jenny was doing this week. And
I'm glad there are no more lies here.
No more
in
secrets.
This relationship.
Yeah. Right.
Seriously, I mean, I'm not really joking. They need to stop using and recycling the same stories, because it boggles my mind. I know that this is a different era and soaps are in a different position now than they used to be, but it really boggles my mind that Coronation Street went for, years of stories, and they never had people dying of cancer or getting shot. You don't need it to make a soap. What you need is characters convincingly acting in a way that is always true to them.
When Ernie Bishop was shot, that was like proper shocking.
Yes,
I imagine,
it was, yeah.
At the time.
But it was shocking to watch it. The thing is, Michael,
and somebody comes in and gets shot and they die. It's not they get shot. There's like, oh no, are they going to be all right? Yeah, they're fine. But it was a bit scary for a moment, wasn't it? Which is what happens at the moment.
This is the thing, though. We are our viewers who have watched soaps and watched Coronation Street. When we watched that and we knew it was going to happen, and we still thought it was good and dramatic. It's nothing about modern viewers, even with their big knowledge of what soaps have done already, that prevents it from being shocking. But what you can't do is do it over and over again with the same group of characters.
Yeah. Right, should we move
blah,
on?
Blah, blah, blah.
Let's move on, because we talked about this for an hour for the moment. Yeah. So let's move on and talk about somebody else for a change.
Evelyn and Arthur.
Yes, them.
So.
Arthur cut.
Right.
I hope he's not been cut. I'm worried that we never see Arthur again. Will we see Scott again? Will we see Arthur again? I don't know.
We don't know.
Oh, I hope so.
Don't come to us for the answers. We're just... What is it?
A man.
Trying to make sense of the world.
From a northern suspect.
Right.
Friends.
That's a deep cut reference to the Harry Hill song.
Deep cut, if you listen
the Harry Hill song. What is it called?
Can.
You need to find this song. If you haven't heard it and you like this podcast, you really are missing out. Look it up, Harry Hill.
I just said it's not that deep cut a reference. If you listen to a Coronation Street podcast, you
You'd
probably know the lyrics.
You would be surprised.
Anyway,
some of the people we
not Ken. We're talking about a couple of other old crumblers, Arthur and Evelyn. Gemma,
right, on Monday.
Over to you. What they've been getting up to? Those crazy lovebirds.
On Monday, Tyrone tells Evelyn that Arthur clearly wants longer than just a long weekend for this upcoming holiday. And Roy has lent her some maps and talks to her about he and Hayley's holidays and how it's the happiest and closest times they've ever had together, and gives them a list of places that will all be closed by the time they get
Roy's
there.
basically saying to Evelyn that if this doesn't get Arthur's motors running, then I don't know what will.
You're going to have to take him for his MOT. You might have to sell him for scrap. Evelyn tells Roy that she is going to suggest to Arthur that they lengthen the trip.
Where did she get that idea from?
They have the quiz. There's a mad gunman on the loose. They're a bit concerned, so they lock the door.
That was funny, wasn't it? So they've heard that there's somebody on the loose with a gun shooting at police.
Literally up the other end of the street.
Yeah, literally. So Roy's like, lock this door.
Yeah,
Don't ain't coming and disturbing our quiz.
I'll leave the back door though, because fair's fair. You've got to give him a chance, haven't you? When the quiz gets cancelled because Jenny just closes the laptop, and we all felt like that at some points recently.
Yeah, they should have had it like when Nick closed his laptop a few weeks ago and Sam carried on talking. Nothing came of that.
Evelyn suggests a holiday extension of a month to Arthur because she wants to find out more about him, and he's like,
my brain aneurysm.
He goes to tell her what he's hiding, and we're all waiting, but he instead decides to leave, saying he has remembered he hasn't given Kendall her worming tablet, and also he is wearing his bulletproof jacket.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter.
Kendall's got an emergency case of the worms.
Oh. On Wednesday, Evelyn wants an explanation from Arthur. He can't understand why she wants to go hurtling around the country in his caravan after she was so against the idea previously, and they suggest they talk it over at lunch. Then Evelyn talks to Gemma about caravanning, and after Gemma talks about her amazing escapades,
I thought that they'd buried that.
And how crap it was. Sometimes right.
Gemma kind of liked the experience. She did say that she nearly got stolen, but she enjoyed the whole getting leathered in a pub with some country
Evelyn
bumpkins.
decides this is not for her, based on Gemma's speech about what she did on her holidays. And I have to say that often Coronation Street will tell us a funny story, especially Mary does this a lot, a funny story about something that happened that you didn't get to see, which makes it sound more exciting. Gemma's story about what she did on her holiday makes it sound even more stupid and ridiculous than it actually was.
Impossible.
And it takes out anything that was interesting about it.
I've got a feeling, and I know I'm standing alone here among the Corrie fandom, I don't think I hated the caravan episode as much as other people did. I think I thought it was bad but not terrible. After we listened to it, I'm not sure. But yeah, anyway, it puts Evelyn off it, doesn't it?
After telling Evelyn he thinks them being an item is a bad idea, and she immediately clams up and leaves.
Yeah, she's...
It's like one thing to be told you don't want to go on holiday in a caravan for a month, and quite another thing to be told that you dumped altogether.
Is this an escape? Is this just her not wanting to lose face, so she just disappears?
Yeah.
Doesn't want to confront her emotions.
Confrontation. Evelyn asks Dad for a job back because she's quit so she can go on holiday, and returns Roy's maps, and she blames herself for being a cantankerous battle axe, and that's very sad. But, a little bit of introspection doesn't hurt.
No.
Evelyn,
but will she
on
change?
Friday...
No. Do we want to? Never.
On Friday, Evelyn tells Tyrone that Arthur is dead to her. And we were wondering whether, in fact, that might come true by the end of the story. But no, we find out what the secret is.
Oh, yeah, we have MVP
soon.
Toya.
Toya is there in the cafe doing the usual Corrie character trick of saying, "Can I be in this story? Have you got anyone to talk to?" Evelyn's in the cafe. Toya sees her. She says, "I saw Arthur at the hospital, actually. He looked very sad. He was at the neurology department. I guess you've driven him mad with desire." Evelyn looks a bit worried about this, as any normal human would be. Toya seems to think this is a bit of juicy goss, doesn't she? It's a bit weird. Evelyn summons Arthur, and she has decided that he's got a brain tumour or something and he's going to die. And Arthur doesn't really listen to what she says.
No, because she says, "I know everything, Arthur."
Yeah, I know about the brain problems.
No, she doesn't say that. She says, "I know everything." And he says, "Oh, it wouldn't have been right to leave her that long," because he thinks that when she says, "I know everything,"
she means
she's found out about Beryl in peril.
He says, "Yes, it's not me that's ill. I don't have a brain problem. It's my wife. Beryl had a stroke 4 years ago. She's gone downhill since then. He had to move her from Leeds to Weatherfield."
Yes, which I didn't really understand because I thought they had excellent neurological care in Leeds, which is why Shona had to spend all that time there earlier this year.
What happened was they did a patient exchange, very much like you would a drugs exchange, where two sets of doctors stand either side of a playground with needles full of poisonous substances just waiting, and then two nurses with gurneys wheeled Shona and Beryl past each other nervously, and then so I gave them a shove and run back. Then they all jumped in their ambulances and drove off with sirens wailing.
That's the only explanation.
Unfortunately, she is not really aware of what's going on, according to Arthur. He's
not doing brilliantly.
He's lonely. He hasn't got any friends. Evelyn says, you should have told me. She's supportive, but she understands that Beryl's coming first. And she kind of immediately says that she wants to be friends now.
Yeah, because what we find out about Beryl is she's in a pretty vegetative state, isn't she? She can't respond to anything. Right. Not even slamming doors in the hospital like Ollie. I mean, she is dead to the world, but she's still alive, which is why Arthur still feels that he can't... I mean, he's still tied to her, isn't he?
Well, yeah. Evelyn's hurt because she opened her heart to him, and that's not going to happen again. And she says, well, I wish Beryl the very best, and she leaves. And then she's shut a door on this relationship now, hasn't she, a little bit? I don't know if she still wants... She's definitely decided that there's no future in them having a relationship. I think... even if he... I don't know, really to me, I think even if his wife died now, she would really, if this wasn't a soap, would probably not want to have anything to do with him. I don't know.
Let's come back to it in a minute.
All right, why?
I just want to nearly the end of the episode,
All right, Michael. She goes sniffly in the cafe. She offers to help Roy out with his vegetarian paella. They have a nice pan of it together and play Scrabble. Arthur's apparently not very good at it, but unfortunately for Evelyn, Roy is. She realises her life is not so bad, but then Roy gets a 128 point score on his first go with musics.
Do you remember what that is?
MUZJIKS, and it means something to do with Russia.
Something to do with Russian serfs.
Yeah, not serfs up. Keep the serfs down, that's what they say in Russia.
It felt very conclusion-y.
Do you think he's gone?
It feels like he is, and I really, really hope that he's not.
I don't think so.
That'd be a crying shame.
I think there will be a scene where she meets up with him over the wife's hospital bed and sort of brings her flowers and something. I just think it would be bad.
That scene with Roy in the end, it felt like she was she looked upset, but she wasn't super distraught about it. But she was saying well, at least I've still got Roy and my Scrabble. Life goes on. Let's chalk that one up for the books kind of thing. And it feels like it's over, and it's a real shame.
But the thing is, to be honest...
I need those two to get back together.
Arthur and Evelyn?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Well, to be honest, what?
It could have ended... if it was going to end there, they might as well killed him off, or... had something like...
That is true.
Sorry to tell you that I have explosive bum disease... And it's like a Russian roulette. Every time I sit on the loo, it could be my final time.
What an unpleasant thought. I don't know. Because the obvious parallel here to draw is the Paul Kershaw, Leslie Kershaw, Dirty Dirty Cheese on Toast storyline. And it's different to that, isn't it?
Very different.
And when we were thinking, what's his secret? The two options really were he's on his last legs or he's got a secret wife who's on her last legs. And it turned out to be that one. But... yeah, the fact that I thought that they might rehash and can Evelyn cope with the fact that there's this other person.
I don't think Evelyn would have gone for that at all.
No, I don't.
Way. I like the way they've done this. I just think that Evelyn is too proud, and I think she would be right to say, no, Arthur, you lied. It's a bit too much. I think you are cheating on your wife, even though. She is not. She
definitely did the right thing.
Evelyn is an old-fashioned woman, isn't she?
Yeah.
And she has very strict moral codes, and to basically have been tricked into breaking her moral code because Arthur didn't tell her the truth, I think would smart more than anything else. And I think they haven't really addressed that. Although maybe Evelyn's the sort of person who says life's too short to play by rules like that. When you get to my age, you realise that you've got to take happiness when you can find it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I personally wouldn't be able to deal with that. I could be someone's friend, but you can't be boyfriend and girlfriend if somebody's wife is just there.
No. I mean, do you think that Beryl is, is she going to conveniently, pop off this mortal coil anytime soon?
Of course she's got to, hasn't she?
I don't know. I just, and maybe it's because I so want Evelyn and Arthur to get together, and nothing ever seems to go the way I wanted to. It feels to me like
if it did, it would be boring.
It's over. It's really sad. And what also I wanted to happen in this, which we didn't get, is a proper Evelyn goes to a darkened room and properly cries, because we got the sniffles, and she would never do it publicly. The closer. I thought that when she was in the pub on Wednesday, was it, and she was having a bit of a like that, and when she was doing it with Roy, it did feel a little bit more like she had a cold than she was upset. I think that Maureen Nipman, could have pulled off an excellent I'm on my own now, I can finally break down and have a massive, Hilda Ogden over Stan's Glasses case style cry. I think that would have been really affecting. What do you think?
I think Evelyn's buried it deeply within her soul now, and she's.
Well, so do I, which is why it would have been even more. It would have made a bigger difference if we'd have seen it.
That's why I don't think it's the end, because it's very anticlimactic to have her sniffle into a tissue and then get annoyed because somebody won with a word that isn't even English. Scrabble.
If it is the end, it is it's disappointing.
I don't believe that they brought this actor in for this
Paul
story,
Copley, is that his name?
And then to just say that's we're cutting it there.
It makes me wonder what the original plan was as well, because again, like the Johnny and Scott story, I think that this was originally planned to play out, 6 months or so ago. Would that have been the end, or would we have been much further down the line? I don't know. Because
they originally re-met each other, didn't they? Because they were. It was their youth. They were.
Yeah, were they dancing partners or something like that? I can't remember.
In a sense, it's not. It's slightly more justified than he might have been if he was like on like what's Tinder for grannies, and it's not Grindr because that's already taken.
Grander.
But you know what I mean. It's not like he was cruising around looking for some hot tail.
No.
They rekindled a romance that had been dormant for years, and his wife has suffered the stroke 4 years ago. We don't know how long she has been unresponsive. I really like these storylines because it throws up a lot of questions about what does it mean when you say I will love you, and does it count if you're unconscious? Does it count if you're a different person suddenly, like Shona? Does it count if you're losing your faculties like Leslie Kershaw did when she was not conscious of what was happening a lot of the time? Where does it end? At what point are you released from your vows? And the thing is about it is that Beryl can't tell him, "I let you go, my love," or anything. He's got to sort of wait ghoulishly for her to die. I think this is one of the most interesting dilemmas, and to me, this is the stuff that I like Coronation Street for more than the shooting and the the sensational stuff. But it does feel a bit like it's been sort of tied in a knot. It is possible that this could be the end. I don't think it is.
It could be another thing. Like
I really want to hear more from. We haven't. Evelyn hasn't had a confidant to say to them. What does she actually think about what the situation is? She's sort of told Arthur it's kind of over, and then that's it. We haven't heard her unload her heart to anybody. It'd be cool if there was a scene with her in Cerberus where she was telling him what she thought.
If there was a scene with her in Cerberus, and maybe Tyrone was listening in, because he's been teasing all the way along. gently, I'd quite like him to go and
Realise,
find
yeah.
Arthur or something. But I just get the horrible feeling that it's over, partly because this was supposed to be finished 6 months ago, so they had to speed it up, because it has felt like it's come to a fairly abrupt end. Maybe if they'd have finished this off in the summer, they would have been able to, not drag it out because that sounds negative, but make it come to a more satisfyingly slow conclusion. I don't know. I just really hope it's not over. I really, really, really hope it's not. What did you think?
But the thing is, though, if it wasn't over, what's the future of this relationship? Because is this actor going to be permanently part of Coronation Street?
No,
I don't think so.
No,
so I think this is
but he
always a
could
doomed
be.
romance. And if it's going to end at any point, this is a natural ending.
It's such a shame because it's just like Jan again, isn't it?
Yeah.
He and Eileen made a great couple last year, and loads of people thought we were all for them. And when he left at the time, I thought, oh, I hope he's back. He'll be back. Surely won't he be back? Maybe, or maybe he won't. And we've seen neither hide nor hair of him. And I think it's going to be like that again for Arthur, unfortunately.
Isn't it the case of that they are going to be great because they never got a chance to have an actual relationship with either of these characters and sully their image, like what Nina was saying to I can't remember which character, Asha, about her dead mother. Like, she was always right.
Maybe
In my mind, she is a perfect saint.
Mm.
The Jan and Arthur are both the perfect boyfriends because they haven't had a chance to mess us around.
The thing with this, so the silver lining on it all is that at least it wasn't Arthur that was ill. Did you have like a prediction one way or the other? Would you have put money on either one of the two outcomes?
I think it would have made more. I mean, it's less sad, but it would have made more sense from if you want to wrap the story up and you don't want to keep this guy around on a contract.
Yeah.
Or he wants to do other things. He doesn't want to be in Coronation Street forever. It would have been sort of... I would have hated it. But logically speaking, if I was writing a storyline about somebody who had a dark secret to do with him being at the hospital and I wanted to get rid of the character, I'd just get him off.
Fair dues. Well, we'll live in hope, and maybe he'll come back with a Christmas miracle that his wife's died or something. I don't know.
Oh, how beautiful.
Right, the Yasmin and Jess storyline. So, this week, it's Yasmin's turn to sell her house, apparently. Imran tells Alya this because of all the court case and the money and everything, that really they've just got to sell the house so they can afford to keep this bloke on. What's his name? Elliot, I think it is.
Yeah.
That's gonna... Oh, no, that's the other storyline. There's too many bloody lawyers going on. Elliot's the one that's... There's in the Ollie story. He's the one that's helping Ollie and
Wendy.
Yes.
Gary
suggests that they go down David's route of sell the house and rent it out. So Alya rent it back out again. So Alya's like, I'd rather see if we can get ourselves a loan first. She does a little credit check on Yasmin, which doesn't look good
because she's in prison.
That does put a bit.
I don't think there's many
on your
people
name.
clamouring to open lines of credit for people in prison.
She's still on remand.
I know, but you're awaiting a trial. There must be special people that can get you money for your legal defence teams and stuff. But I just can't imagine you walking into Barclays. It is a sad indictment on the state of this country and the banking situation. It's not just this country that you can get a limited line of credit on a credit card to buy shoes if you want to, but you can't get a loan to help your old gran out of prison.
I know.
But one of them you can sell on eBay when you're done with them. The other one you can't really, can you? I mean, you can go on Lorraine and talk about how sad your life is, but I don't think you get much money for that, do you?
I think not. No. Anyway, Alya, so yeah, this credit check's not looking good. It looks like Geoff's been going through all of Yasmin's money. He's been taking out loans, not paying them back, yada yada.
Well, he's
Imran
forged,
says this
fortunately.
looks like Geoff might have taken out a loan in Yasmin's name, so that could be quite good. So they go and tell Yasmin this, but it turns out no, she did actually sign them. No forged signatures necessary. I was so under Geoff's spell that I just signed anything he put in front of me, basically. Probably, I don't really remember. Alya learns about just how in control of Yasmin's finances Geoff was. And it was just easier, she says, to let him get on with it. Also, by the way, Alya, he's never going to agree to sell the house, which is what she finds out on Wednesday, when she's discovered by this point there's no chance of a loan to cover Yasmin's case. She is now starting to wonder what exactly Geoff has been spending all of this family money on. Imran says, well, maybe he's desperate. Maybe this could be good. I don't know. We could use this as to our advantage. So Alya has later been to see David about selling the house, and then she thinks, well, needs musts. Let's get somebody over to value it and see whether we can go down this route. How are we going to do it though without Geoff finding out? Well, what we can do. I don't think
because he's going to find out if you at some point.
Yeah, she steals his keys, lets herself in. The estate agent doesn't even turn up anyway, and Geoff has got a little app on his phone that notifies him whenever anybody enters the house. So he gets an intruder alert to come up on his phone. So he goes round there, banging on the door, find Alya there. She says, well, she basically tells him what's going on. And at first it looks like he's interested in the idea of half the money that he would make if they sold through the house. But a bit later, he's there on the sofa, very cockily saying, nope, I'm not standing up, I'm staying here, nothing you can do about it. There's no way that I'm doing this, and giving Yasmin a chance of money that she could use to get out of jail. Thank you very much.
This was silly because Alya told him the truth and put all her cards on the table and made it so easy for Geoff to say no.
Yep, that's Alya.
He doesn't need any money because he's already taken out all these loans in Yasmin's name. And he's got a really nice house there. I did think it was pretty hilarious that one of his main arguments against moving out, apart from the fact he didn't want Yasmin to get half of the money, was that he had far too many pieces of magical equipment and the storage space would cost too much money to maintain.
Well,
surely, Geoff, you have your magical equipment to do performances that you could then use the money to pay for your storage.
I'd say just put all your magic equipment inside your magic box, tap on it with your magic wand, go alakazam, and it's gone, no problem. Anyway, Alya goes back home and has a massive hissy fit.
I didn't like that scene.
I don't like very much that Alya does. She's making it so difficult for me to be on her side. Everything that this woman does, I just like, go Geoff.
She sat, shut up. She sat on the sofa and she punched all the pillows and she went, I hate that man. But it just felt a bit self-conscious to me and a bit put on.
I agree.
Have you ever done that when you're angry? I mean, I've wanted to scream. I have screamed silently into my fists on several occasions. I've like torn my hair. I've never punched a pillow. What do you do?
I may or may not have thrown an exercise book across the class in a fit of rage.
Oh dear.
Once or twice.
Did you do it frisbee style, or did you sort of like...
Frisbee. Yeah, I got it quite far. It's good. It was good, yeah. Nice.
I tell you what, you should always, on a Monday, to blow off steam, you should have a staff meeting in the hall and see how far you can throw your worst child's book.
They're all treasures.
They're all God's gift.
Anyway, Imran comes in and he says, look, you need to accept that Geoff may be unbeatable here. Perhaps you should go and just sell your shares of speed dial and just cut your losses and run. But now Alya has got a better idea. She's going to find him. She's going to follow him and find out exactly what she's been spending all this money on. What he's been, and she basically announces very loudly to all and sundry, including Geoff, that she's going to find out what he's been doing. She's rubbish.
Dumb. I want to know, what would the situation be if Yasmin instructed Alya to rent out a bedroom in the house to earn money? Say we were separated, but we still lived in the same house together. What would be the situation where one of us would say, I want to rent out a room to earn money, and the other one would say no? Who gets the final say?
I don't know.
Because that would be a great way of driving Geoff out of the house. To say, well, okay, you don't want to sell the house, that's fine. I can't force you, but Gran is entitled to have a lodger if she wants one. So
rent it out to the most annoying person on the street.
Gemma.
Second. Yeah.
Oh, it's so great to get away from the quads. Who was you going to say?
No, I don't know. I was just thinking that Geoff is the most annoying person on the street.
Oh, right, yeah.
No, actually, Alya is the most annoying person on the street. Yes! Rent it out to herself.
I honestly don't know why she doesn't try to move in. Probably because he would try.
Can't stand to breathe the same air as him.
No.
Anyway,
not in this environment.
Geoff gets a phone call on Friday. Hello, love. How's you? He says. So Alya's like, he's got another woman on the go. I think on Wednesday's episode there was a hint of that as well.
There was a really massive, annoying what's the, like, big obvious sentence that Yasmin said on Monday. Alya went to go and see her, and they were like, "Gran, how could you be so stupid?" Basically, and Yasmin said, "Oh, he always used to say to me, 'Lovely lady, you deserve the best,' or something like that." And then we never heard Geoff say that to her ever once. And then this week, Geoff's saying it to everybody.
Yeah, I know. Never mind. As Alya goes off to Yasmin again and says, "I reckon Geoff's seeing someone," and Yaz is mad, not because, she wants him for herself. But she's mad that he's potentially lining up his next victim, and Alya needs to go and warn her right now. Ryan quite rightly points out that she can't just follow Geoff around for the rest of his life. But luckily it doesn't take that long, because by the end of the afternoon she's followed him off to the shops where he gets his cheap flowers and then swaps them out for something a little bit nicer, off to the bistro where he is meeting up with a lady in a Zimmer frame called Doris.
No, first of all she sees him waiting at a table, and she does stride past this lady with a Zimmer frame and goes up and announces that she's there to ruin his date.
Yeah.
And then Doris arrives.
I love how the script writers this week got to pick some really nice old lady names. We had Doris, we had Beryl.
Yeah, I do like those names.
Alya says to this woman that don't be taken in by him, but it turns out that she's got the wrong end of the stick. This Doris lady is just a massive fan of Geoff's from the hospital radio, and she's having a nice dinner with him, and that's all. And he's also been doing odd jobs for her around the house. So he's kind of tricked her, really, because he must have known. He
must have set this up.
Yeah.
And in real life,
because
you wouldn't
Alya
bother, would you?
No, Alya wasn't being
this was all an elaborate plan to have one scene where Alya makes herself look like an idiot.
Yeah.
But it did work because it threw for a greater purpose, which was to throw Alya off the scent.
Yeah, exactly. And also he sets the police on her, doesn't
he? Yeah.
He's always doing that. That's his MO, isn't it?
People are so dumb because they fall into this trap. He's like a Twitter troll who gets people, he gets the police round to people's houses.
He totally is.
For harassing them.
But anyway, the twist at the end of the episode is he does have an actual date. Somebody called Christine. Not really an old lady name, I have to say. And
she's not an old lady either.
Well, no, she's not.
Same age as Geoff.
I don't think that red hair was completely natural. That's all I'm saying. But
tell you what, if that's not real, then neither's Babs.
It seems that this Christine has been going out with Geoff for a little while because she knows all about this vindictive step-granddaughter of his. But she does seem to be quite smitten with him, and he calls her a lovely lady and everything. He is. He
says the line that wooed Yasmin.
Yeah.
Which is really all I want to hear from you, but you'll never say it to me. I think this is great. This is a significant turn in the story.
I enjoyed that twist.
Because now Geoff has a confidant and somebody who's in on what's going on. She doesn't know the full story, obviously, but Geoff feels very comfortable to tell her what the situation is between him and Yasmin and her family.
Yeah.
And so if he has any plans or evil deeds up his sleeve, Christine looks like the sort of person who would lap everything up and think that Geoff was completely in the right for doing whatever he's doing. And this was a bit of the missing part of finding out more about Geoff's story and what he's thinking. Because he hasn't ever had somebody to talk to about what his plans are. And now he's got Christine.
Yeah, he's got an ally. And
now we've got another part of the story that will extend the life and give us a reason why Geoff's still in the show and what can happen to actually bring his story to an end. Because at the moment, the only way for the story to end is for Yasmin to get out of this court case.
Yeah, which is still a month away.
Which doesn't really vanquish Geoff necessarily, although we have had discussions about what can be said at the court case and whether he can be in trouble for coercive control or anything like that. But now, because I've said all along, he needs to have his comeuppance, and he's kind of had it in dribs and drabs, and everyone around him has found the truth out about him, and there's not going to be a big revelation or him being unmasked because everybody knows what he's like. So barring a court case, the only thing now that could happen is Christine will find out, and that's going to be the big
but I don't know how much he'd really care.
No,
about
I know,
this
and also
woman who he has fairly
the
recently
weak
just
part of
met.
it is also, why do we care about Christine and what she thinks about him? She seems like a bit of a gullible idiot. I mean, Yasmin fell for Geoff because of his charms, whereas Christine's falling for this cockable story. And here's a massive warning sign for anybody, and anybody who's dated people will know. If the guy comes to you and everyone he's ever dated is a psychopath or a weirdo, he's the one that's the problem, not them. So Christine is old enough to not fall for this rubbish about how his ex-wife's a psycho.
Yeah. Did you
Mind you, if Yasmin says it, she's right.
Do you think that this is where all the money has been going to, or has he been using some of it on Elaine? Because I was semi-expecting or wondering whether we would get to find out what's happened to Elaine this week. Still got no idea about that. I still think that she's just going to rock up in the court case. That seems like the most obvious thing to happen.
He makes a big show of buying Christine the most expensive champagne or a bottle of champagne, and this is supposed to indicate to us what he has been spending his money on. I'm going to also point out that Christine is probably not the first fish he's tried to reel in. There's probably a slew of other women that he has tried to woo using expensive bottles of champagne and nice dinners. But what he needs is the perfect victim. He needs somebody who is gullible and can offer him something.
Is he being a bit foolish?
Actually,
trying the same?
Can I just say, I shouldn't have said gullible because that's a bit mean. But somebody who is going to think is going to sort of err on the side of believing him and giving him the benefit of the doubt, basically, which is what Yasmin has done. Somebody who is going to be vulnerable to his certain forms of manipulation.
Is it a bit early for him to be doing this? If he's trying to play down and hide the fact that he's an evil manipulator, shouldn't he be giving women a rest for a little bit?
No.
Because if Alya finds out...
Who does he need to hide this from?
Well, if Alya and Imran and that lot are saying, look at this guy, he's coercively controlled Yasmin for all this time, look what he's like. Coercive controllers.
Yes, okay. Coercive control is a crime, but dating someone when your wife's in prison isn't.
No, but I think that. But if you know he knows what he's doing. He knows he's using the exact same tricks on Christine as he used with Yasmin. So if somebody finds out about this, they can say, "Look, he's doing it again."
He's not at the stage of doing what he did to Yasmin. It took him a long time to get to that point with Yasmin, didn't it? He's controlling her. He's making her think that he's nice because he bought her champagne. I mean, if tricking women into bed with champagne is a crime, most of the men in this country have to go to prison immediately.
Not me.
No, not you.
I just think that he's playing a bit of a dangerous game here. But then I said the same about Kel when he was doing his DJ lessons with the little boys after when Bernie was still on his case.
Yeah, you're right. Geoff is bulletproof because he's chatted Christine up and he's given her a load of bull about what the situation is and made out that everybody who says a word against him is an enemy who is an unreasonable liar, right? Mm. So Christine would be confronted with anybody like Tim or Alya or anybody. She's not going to believe a word they say because she's already been primed by Geoff. If they come to him and say you're not allowed to date, they're wrong. He can't. I don't see how this can negatively affect him. He'll just say, yeah, I've moved on from Yasmin. She ruined my life, but I just want happiness. Mm.
And the way that Alya is, she's going to come... If she finds out about it, she'll come...
look like a lunatic.
She will. She can't help it, can she? Yeah, she's been told time and time again to leave it, but she just can't.
The thing that Geoff is good at doing is pretending to be reasonable after having done very unreasonable things and driving people to insanity and to shouting and screaming at him in the street and making themselves look bad so that he then gets away with looking like the victim. Mm.
It's a bit like when Anna Windass was having rants at Pat.
Yes, provoking somebody into making themselves look bad. And unfortunately, women, there's that stereotype of being a hysterical woman. Mm. But, how often have they been proven right?
I'm looking forward to this one coming to an end. That's all I can say at the moment. I'm assuming that this time next month it will be nearly over. That this story's got 6, 7, 8 weeks max, I would say, left in it. It's feeling like it's ambling a little bit.
I'm still enjoying it, and I'm not bothered about the fact that they've extended it with this Christine edition. I do feel a bit like we're nearing the top of the pyramid of cards.
I just want this to have a more satisfying ending than the Pat story did. Now, the Pat story was a heck of a lot better than this. This is a great story, this Yasmin and Geoff, but I enjoyed the Pat epic a lot more than I've enjoyed this. But that really faltered at the end, and I hope that this isn't in danger of just kind of burbling out in the final furlough. Furlong. Sorry, furlough's on the brain. Right, number 11, Gemma. Totally different.
Number 11?
Yeah, the house where this takes place.
Where did you get that from?
My head. What's been going on at number 11?
On Monday, Mary's going on a socially distanced date with George.
Yes, she does, doesn't she? She goes to speed dial with George and Eileen and that.
Well, that didn't happen at number 11, did it?
No, it didn't, but it started off well.
Eileen tags along for emotional support, and this is cringy to the extreme because everyone seems to be aware, apart from Mary, that George is not interested in the slightest in dating Mary, and he wants Eileen.
Yeah.
Eileen is not speaking up because I think she feels bad for Mary, and I don't think she's that bothered about George. But it's really excruciating to watch this play out.
Todd was great.
Mary is sitting in the Rovers getting some Dutch courage, and then the date starts, and Mary's happy because Todd's turned up as well. George comes, and he is just, ignoring Mary and loving Eileen, and Todd's being sarcastic, but then they have a sort of a battle of wits, and Todd didn't bring his weapons with him.
He does a fairly decent shot, and I enjoyed Todd here, but I also very much enjoyed seeing George get the better of him.
I liked the potential of there being an ongoing feud between George and Todd.
What I don't want is for George to turn into a Brian sort of character. I want him, a buffoonish comic relief. And there's also, if he was going to be paired off with Mary, then that was a distinct possibility of happening. So the fact that he's A, interested in Eileen, and B, is able to outsmart Todd, gives me real hope for this character, and I definitely think that there's more potential. So you think he's
pretty much a love interest now for Eileen, not Mary?
I would hope so. That's where I'd rather it went.
Me too.
I don't know
I didn't realise that Mary and George was such a bad match until this.
Well, we haven't learned enough about George, and he has been at her side in every scene almost.
But the thing is, though, it limits the potential instantly of George to be dating Mary. In my opinion. Whereas if he gets to go out with Eileen, he'll become a bit more of a rounded character.
Yeah, exactly. He's only going to get the silly storylines.
Yeah.
Whereas the thing with Archie was that he was excellent at the comedy and the drama. So put him with Eileen. However, if Jan comes back, then he can go right back after Mary.
Yeah. Mary invites George back to watch Midsummer Murders, but he doesn't look very impressed, and he leaves early. Mary doesn't seem to have noticed that this has not gone very well.
No.
So on Wednesday, Todd persuades Sean to take Dylan, his son, out for a kickabout.
Yeah, this is a totally different story, really, but we've bundled them all together.
Sean comes back injured. He says he's not one of those dad-type dads.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair enough. Todd says, "Don't worry about it.
You're a great dad, Sean.
There are other types of dads than dad-type dads." Dylan opens up to Sean
about
a
mean hot pot.
The fact that he's been dumped by his girlfriend, who of like 3 months or something, and Sean's like, "Oh, you've got to keep dating and dating and dating like I have, and one day you'll find the one for you." And I really, really was waiting for Dylan to say, "Well, where's your one for you?" Because he's not a very good example of that, is he? Particularly,
Todd, isn't it? It's Todd.
Dylan's sort of like, "Great, thanks, Dad, for your help." There.
Oh, no, he does the cheesy thanks, Dad, at the end of that scene, and Sean's like, "Oh, he's my son."
He's accepted me as his father, but I'm not a dad. On Friday, Dylan is invited to play football with Ardy and Dev. And Sean's like, "Oh, I can't do that." But you know what, Sean? Gay people can play football.
Yeah, just ask
We know
James.
this, yeah, we know. So you're only preventing yourself through stereotypes. They come back later. Sean says, they're talking about Ellie Simmons, and Sean's like, "I don't know who that is." And they're like, "Oh, she's amazing. She's got gold medals."
Yeah,
I didn't get it.
Sean thinks that they're talking about
Ellie Goulding?
Yeah, maybe, or something like that. I don't know. But I don't know who Ellie Simmons is either. But then you showed me a picture and I went, oh, it's her.
I did not buy this at all. I don't think that teenage boys look up to female athletes at all. I don't think they do. I think they look up to other boys.
I certainly don't think that, from what I know about Ardy and Dylan, which is admittedly not very much, that, you know, they'd have posters up on their bedroom wall.
Don't know what would inspire you, particularly after a game of football, to talk about a swimmer.
I can't remember how she came into the conversation.
No, I don't either. I just thought it was a bit... it felt a bit... I just didn't buy it. It felt really fake to me. I think it would, if they wanted to, obviously they wanted to include her because they wanted to have inclusion and talk about disabled athletes, and I think that's good. But they weren't the right characters for it.
Get Jack in there to talk about it.
Yeah, somebody who will identify with her in a way other than just simply, she likes sports and so do we. I think that girls would have been inspired by her, and people who've also faced physical challenges would have been inspired by her. Not to say she's not an inspiring person. I think teenage boys are very focused on other teenage boys and what they're going to be like when they grow up as men. I think that they focus on men, and that's why women in sports aren't taken seriously.
Yeah, it felt a bit odd, but it was just a way of Sean showing that he's in no way with it. He's not on the same wavelength as Dylan. I found the whole thing with Dylan and Ardy a bit odd.
I didn't. Why are they hanging out?
Exactly. There's a couple of years in between them, but obviously with actors, there's more than a couple of years in between them. It felt odd that Ardy would invite Dylan to go and play football with him. Dylan seems
a lot more seems to me to be a lot similar to Jack.
Yeah, has Jack been in it since the pandemic?
Maybe this conversation was originally written for Jack and Dylan.
Kevin.
Jack and Dylan.
Yeah, with Kevin.
I don't know why Ardy and Dylan would spontaneously start talking about Ellie Simmons.
Yeah.
And about how inspirational
Never mind.
I would love her to be mentioned in a way that I would buy and take seriously, but you know, she deserves to be mentioned on the show.
Did your impressions of Dylan change or stay the same this week? Because we were pretty down on him last week, weren't we? He was just deemed to be the stereotypical moody teenager.
I've got nothing really to say about Dylan.
He
reminds me very much of my cousin Matthew.
He's opened up a little bit, and we've found out about his girlfriend. He's got a heart in there. It's not just he's got a reason to be moody, but I'm still not loving him in the same way that Sam was an instant.
I'm waiting to care about his relationship with Sean, other than I'm supposed to like Sean.
I feel sorry for Sean a bit more. Because I like Sean. I got a soft spot for Sean. I'll tell you one thing
that is interesting is, how do you relate to your son as a gay dad?
Yeah.
Which I haven't seen in a soap. I don't know if another soap is... Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I haven't seen it in a soap because I only watch Corrie. It's an interesting concept because, of course, obviously, a lot... Like you said about being a dad-type dad and having a lad-type lad, you know, he doesn't want to play football.
Yeah, I suppose it has gone down the very easy route of football.
It's a shorthand, isn't it? It's a shorthand that people can understand of a hobby that... I mean... Literally, gay men have been excluded from playing football, coming out openly and playing football. So it was a really good choice to have them playing football and have Sean sort of stand there going,
it'd be interesting if they could absorb James into the story, possibly.
I kind of feel a bit like, at some point, Dylan will reveal a secret passion for stage musicals. You know what I mean? There's going to be some sort of stupid thing that they both bond over, that they both really like, and that will be the end of the story. It will just be how do these two people that don't know each other very well relate to one another.
Yeah, I don't know how long Dylan's going to be in the show. I mean, he only came in for half term, didn't he? So it could well be that that's the last we've seen of him until, I don't know, the Christmas holidays maybe, but...
It's very sweet, and it is...
I just like that they're giving Sean a story.
Yeah, and it is kind of... seeing him vulnerable and searching for a way. It's not... I mean, many parents have this, especially if you're absent from your child or you're not in your child's life regularly. How do you relate to someone, especially when they change in age and you don't know what they're into anymore? And especially if you feel as though you know, he's a more manly guy and you feel like you're not.
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting thing. And I think that also Anthony Cotton is pretty good at playing that.
Yeah. It reminded me a little bit...
character.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It reminded me a little bit of when Ken met Daniel when he was a teenager, when he went to see Denise, and Daniel didn't want anything to do with him, and Ken struggled to relate to him, and Daniel called him his granddad.
How do I reach these kids?
Anyway, right, Oliver's storyline, which I was disappointed that this didn't stretch for the whole week, because this is still my kind of number one story at the moment, I have to say, the one that I'm invested in the most, and that feels like, you know, the most serious and well done story at the moment. I know there's a kid that's dying here, but there's no sensationalism on it. I completely buy on all the actors' performances. So anyway, Monday, Leanne and Steve are talking about the fact that they've not been able to get any specialists who are taking their side in this hearing that's coming up.
That should be a clue.
It totally is, but Leanne can't see it, can she? She's blind to it, which is not what you can say about Nick and Gail, because if you remember last week, Gail was saying to Nick, you need to tell Leanne. She's
hard truths is what she needs.
Yeah, Nick says.
But you're right. You're right in saying what you said earlier, which is that Nick. I don't think Nick, and Nick's right as well. I agree with him. He's not the delivery. Toya's not the person.
I didn't say that earlier. I said that later this podcast.
Oh, no.
Remember, we're recording this.
Oh, the magic is slipping. You're right in what you're going to say in the future.
Thank you so much.
That's the only time you're ever going to hear me say that. It has to be Steve, but we'll get to that later. Oh no, we ruined it.
The magic is gone.
Sorry.
So Nick says to Gail, I need to support Leanne or I'm going to risk losing them both. And Gail says, look, there's an emotional cost to going to court and prolonging Oliver's suffering. You need to put the brakes on this. Sorry, Nick. So we have Wendy coming back later because she's gonna talk to Nick, and this is his opportunity to say, you know, does he open up and say, I don't think we can go any further with this, or does he support Leanne? And when she's asking him, is Oliver suffering? Is his brain beyond any meaningful recovery? Is he responding at all to stimuli? What do you think, Nick? And he's like, yep, he don't. I think he might be okay, actually. And Gail's looking there saying, giving him the look like, he's not managed it. But she is brave, I suppose. And well, she has to, doesn't she? She has to step up, because if Nick's not going to do it, and she thinks somebody needs to tell this Wendy the truth. I don't know, she's not really been involved in the storyline too much, but she knows she's not so sure that that Ollie is doing quite so well as Nick's painting out here. Nick blows up,
honestly
you don't know what you're talking about, storms off.
This feels to me like a question Wendy asked because she wants to gauge their perception of reality. She's not asking them because she thinks they have greater insight into Oliver's medical condition.
Yeah.
She wants to know, do you realise that Oliver is not responding? She now knows that Gail is telling the truth. Well, Gail sees the reality of the situation, and she can see that Nick is still in denial. I
wonder whether she thinks that, or does she...
No, yeah. I think that's... I don't think that anybody could come into the situation and hear what the doctors say and hear what Leanne is saying and think, well, she might have a point.
Does she think that Nick is just saying that to so that he doesn't have to face the wrath of Leanne, or is he in denial in the same way as Leanne is?
I don't think Wendy needs to be concerned with that too much.
It's going to be heartbreaking, this hearing that comes up. Is it a couple of weeks' time?
Yeah, Wendy's going to just have to say.
She's going to have to say. I think Leanne is going to go into this hearing thinking that Wendy's on her side, even though she doesn't particularly at the moment. I think she's going to think, no, Wendy will fight our battle for us, and then she's going to drop the truth bomb, and Leanne is going to hit the roof. So anyway, Leanne later overhears Nick telling Gail that Leanne's going to flip out about something. Flip out about what? Leanne says, and Gail says, don't worry.
I don't do that.
Don't worry about it. Nick did an awesome job with Wendy. You just got a parking fine, that's all.
Why didn't... Gail's a coward. Gail's basically happy to tell everybody apart from Leanne. Isn't she?
And then she says Gail's responsibility to tell Leanne.
No, but then she says to Nick, oh, you should tell her. And then Leanne comes in and she says, what? And Gail's like, nothing.
Gail is absolutely not the right one to tell Leanne.
I know it isn't.
She needs to get flipping Janice on the phone and say, come down here and sort your daughter out. Anyway, in a side room, Gail tells Nick that you might not be able to see this, love, but Oliver's gone. And he says, of course I can see it, but Leanne can't. Then Leanne just proves that by popping out of Ollie's room and says, he moved, the door slammed.
No, but I think this was important. If I was involved in this story and I heard Leanne saying he moved when the door slammed, I'd be like, what do you mean? Well, he is. What do you mean then? He must. So there is hope.
Yeah.
And I think that anybody in the situation would say, well,
that proves it.
That proves it.
Well, but
so I liked this scene. I think this is
I thought
important.
it was important.
I think this would help people if they're in the situation, or maybe that, God forbid, this happens to them, and they can see that this happens. These involuntary reflexes aren't a sign of anything other than the body reacting.
Yeah, which is what Dr. Hospital tells them later.
It must be so heartbreaking to have this little slither of hope put in front of you, and then to be told, I mean, it's the same as blinking or swallowing or breathing.
Yeah. They basically end the episode
it's horrible.
With Leanne saying to Nick, look, Nick says to Leanne, let's keep a diary of anything else like this.
That they didn't warn her that this might happen, though.
But,
perhaps they did.
Maybe they did, but she doesn't want to listen to what they've got to say.
Yeah, Nick's the one that suggests that they make this diary about his reactions.
He's just trying to. He's not brave enough to face Leanne, and
I don't know. No, I think he's brought it back into it now.
I don't know whether he has. I think.
But why would you encourage her?
He just doesn't want to break her heart.
He's making it worse.
He's already feeling guilty about bringing the whole Sam situation and compounding the situation by having a secret son. So he feels like he's got to stick by Leanne's side with something.
This is awful.
And it was another opportunity at the end of the episode for Leanne to say, "Oh, Nick, you're so wonderful. You came to my rescue," which we've had a couple of times already this story. And then we cut to Nick inside his head going, "Oh, if only she knew what I really am thinking at the moment."
But it's.
But and that was where it left, and it really felt to me on Monday like I cannot wait to see where this goes on Wednesday and Friday. But we didn't get anything, and I don't know what could have been cut on Wednesday and Friday to make place for this, because I suppose the Johnny and Jenny storyline rightly was given centre stage. Maybe there wasn't enough room for this and the Evelyn thing, but I do hope it comes back next week. I don't.
No, I know. I'm just sad. I'm just sad to think that, and like Nick feels so precarious in his relationship with Leanne that he really is. There's nothing in it for him to say to her, "You are delusional."
Yeah. No, there's not.
There's no benefit to it for him at all, apart from to realise that his relationship with Leanne is built on sand.
Yeah.
But any relationship tested like this.
Is it built on quicksand? Because Nick's
he's allergic.
Nick's had history with that. No wonder he wants to stay with
It's my Achilles heel. He made beetroot cake.
Beetroot cake. Why did I write? Oh, didn't somebody buy beetroot cake in a muffin or something?
That's right. It was something to do in the shop, and I said,
it was in the cafe, wasn't it?
And I said, I bet that's vegan.
Oh yeah.
You wouldn't make a cake out of beetroot unless you were doing it to be vegan. Although I have to say, I think I have had beetroot cake before, and it's quite nice.
I do not think I would enjoy that.
I don't think you'd know.
I would.
You wouldn't.
I would.
You
My
wouldn't.
sister.
No, your sister's gone too far.
My sister has, on occasion, tried to give Gemma and I food and said, vegan food, and said, this tastes exactly the same as normal ice cream / millionaire shortbread. It doesn't.
I'm not saying she's gone too far in being a vegan. I'm saying she's gone too far of being a vegan to the point at which she's forgotten, and it's probably best that she has for herself, normal food.
Oh,
Sorry,
I do not stand by that.
Okay, whatever. You know what I'm saying. Like, it's good that your taste buds change, but I do find it endearing how confidently a vegan or vegetarian will tell you that this substitute for something is exactly the same.
But I'll tell you what, that sausage roll that we had from Greg's that one time.
That vegan sausage roll, I really like that. I prefer that to the normal sausage roll.
Right, lastly, and I've only got a couple of notes about this story, but it feels like this has got a bit more discussion to go with it, the Abby Debbie Doodah.
On Friday, we established that Abby is still fed up with Debbie's being there, and she tells Kevin that Abby is suspiciously rich and vague.
Debbie is suspiciously risk. Yeah.
Debbie is suspiciously vague and rich, and why is she here, not in Turkey? Because Turkey's had an earthquake. Abby,
she had a lucky escape there.
Monster. Debbie realises that she's outstaying her welcome, but her business venture is taking longer than she thought. Now,
venture, eh?
What could this be? What could this business venture be that we're suddenly interested in?
I wonder indeed. If there was any kind of mystery still remaining before this week about who Roxy is. Although last week, I think on the podcast, I was going away from it being Roxy being Debbie, didn't I? Because David had spoken to Roxy and I said, well, surely he'd recognise her voice. But as we've learned that, from the whole Scott Ray situation this week, that people aren't so good at recognising voices. I'm all in the Roxy as Debbie camp now.
Maybe she talks on the phone and she puts on a southern accent or something.
Maybe she puts on a Turkish accent.
Hello there, it's me and Roxy. I'm calling to see if you want to sell your house.
She's got to be, hasn't she? And I think it's a shame that we didn't find out on Friday, because it's, I suppose, like the Arthur mystery. Would it have been more effective if we hadn't suspected that Arthur had a secret? Because maybe if we hadn't seen that scene at the hospital a couple of weeks ago, and then Arthur had just dropped the news.
We're saying ages ago.
We were saying that something's going to go wrong here.
He's got a secret and he's a murderer, and I still stand by that, because we don't know whether Beryl really had a stroke, and did she actually not have a stroke, but he tried to kill her with a pillow, and now he feels guilty that she's in a vegetative state?
No,
could be.
So I just think that Friday was the time.
They're
to reveal.
In danger.
I would love it if they pulled the carpet from under us and it wasn't Debbie.
It's Ray.
Ray is Roxy.
Hi, it's me, Roxy.
But come on, it's going to be Debbie, isn't it? It's got to be. There was even that scene.
There's a reason they brought her back.
There's a reason they brought her back.
Not to sit around and annoy Abby.
It's been a shame that she's been a little bit quiet, because she's not been a big character since she's been back. She's got to keep quiet so that people
don't recognise her voice on the phone.
Very true. I still think it's odd that that Kevin hasn't been able to get out of her, because she was saying like, I can't even remember what reason that she gave that she needs to stay secretive about this deal, because Kevin would surely want to know or have found out by now, because she's been living there for a couple of months.
Because it's an evil plan and you have to keep it secret.
Do you think that she's going to go full on evil next week if and when it is eventually revealed?
I think Debbie is a very practical minded, no nonsense woman who would be, it's business, Kev. I know that you think that, if Kevin's going to get, who knows if Kevin will get mad about it or not.
Debbie would know that Kevin would not be happy with his neighbours' houses being razed to the ground and be replaced by a massive skyscraper.
I know, but if she can convince him that he should sell his business for a good reason.
That's the point, actually.
She's going to have to get him to sell his business as well.
It's selling his business. Well, it's not his anymore, is it?
Oh, that's true.
But his livelihood, his garage
location
that he's been working at since, mid-90s.
Well, maybe Ray's not told her that he's going to get rid of that bit.
I do wonder how much she knows
of the plan.
Yeah. I hope that we get a lot of scenes with those two next week.
To get rid of that part, and Ray might have sold her a story about it will be good for Kevin's business because there'll be more people with cars. I'm going to put in an underground, garage there or something for people to park.
I don't know whether she'd be gullible enough to fall for that.
Do you not think that somebody who's moved away from the street might say to Kevin, Kev, it's not healthy for you. You've lived here for so long. You've got this unhealthy attachment. Most people don't live where they work. You need a bit more separation. This is weird.
And then everybody pipes up saying, yes, they do.
Yes, I do. What do you mean?
But, Debbie's moved away, and she moved away years ago. And since then, what has happened? She's got this mansion in Turkey.
She moved away from Southampton.
But she might say to Kevin, it's not the end of the world, mate, to move away from Weatherfield. I did it, and look at me now.
She knows that he loves that garage. I think that she might...
men have strange attachments to lots of things, and it's down to women to tell them to stop being weird and get out of the shed.
She's also just thinking about the houses that are left, the ones that there's been no sign of who's gonna of them selling yet. We don't know about what's going on with the cabin or Rita's house, but
they're just going to demolish it with her in it because she's used to it by now.
But also Sally and Tim's house. There's been no word yet, has there, about whether they're going to sell? So the fact that Debbie is brought in to, I wonder whether she's going to be trying to convince Kevin's, her brother's ex-wife to sell the house. I think she might be painted as the villain a little bit.
I don't think Debbie would care.
She doesn't come across as being the sentimental type.
No, I think she's the sort of woman that to me is a sort of a more of a cutthroat person who doesn't care what people think. I say a lot on this podcast about how women are conditioned to be aware of other people's feelings and not hurt people's feelings and put other people before them. So, if you're a woman who doesn't do that, it's kind of a superpower. And Debbie seems like that kind of person. I don't think she would be bothered.
Well, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing it. Again, I'm saying hopefully next week. I'm just assuming. There was the bit also in Friday's episode when she and Kevin were at speed dial and she was listening in to the conversation of Alya speaking very, very loudly about selling Geoff's house, which is more evidence for that, I think. Let's get things moving on this. See whether we should trust Debbie or not. I don't think we should.
No.
Right. What are we doing for this week's scores then, Mrs.? And character of the week, of course.
Jenny's the character of the week.
Is she?
Yeah, because she got lots of good scenes. She got to do a nice crying. She stood up to Johnny. She told him off. She was great at pretending to look for him in the ginnel, but she didn't look like she really wanted to find him.
I'm probably going to go for Jenny, and it has been a while since I've given Jenny character of the week. But I would like to give some props to Gail for... I know that she didn't stand up to Leanne, but for pushing Nick too. Which when she could have just sat back and been hands off with it. I think maybe. I mean, Evelyn and Arthur were both great to watch. They're both such fantastic actors, and I'm proper invested in them. But I can't say that the characters did anything particularly that.
How are you feeling about scores? I'm thinking maybe 4.
I'm not thinking 4. I'm going to give Jenny my character of the week. Let's go like that. I'm not going to say 4. There was some excitement with the heist.
Craig got shot.
Yeah, but it was... Although there was excitement, at most times I was thinking it could. I can see this being done better in other circumstances, and it's not Coronation Street's fault necessarily. But
it isn't their fault.
Just saying the script wasn't always shining.
This is the thing. It's not their fault, but they're still in the situation. So
yeah. So the Monday heist was fine. The Wednesday's episode I didn't enjoy quite so much. Friday was better, but it still felt like it fizzled out, especially with Scott just leaving. I could think of other ways that could have improved it for me. I'm gutted that Evelyn and Arthur ended, and if it is just that's it, then that feels like it's a bit of a quick ending. Alya I was fed up with, so I wasn't too invested in that story, although I like the twist at the end with Geoff and Christine. Not too bothered about Sean and Dylan.
I'm going to give it 4.
I'm not.
4 potato sack burials.
That was one of the Todd's.
Yeah.
Cutting jibes. Sorry.
Like the cut of your jib.
I'll give it 3.5. It was not a full week. It was absolutely not a full week for me.
It's up to you to say that.
There were too many things in the back of my head where I was thinking, I guess could have been done a bit better. So I'll give it. I was thinking 3, but I'll up it to 3.5. 3.5. 3.5.
Don't give it 3.5 beetroot cakes.
No, I'm not going to give it 3.5 beetroot cakes. I'm going to give it 3.5.
I'm going to make it my mission now to feed you a beetroot cake, and you don't know.
3.5 lemons popped in the fridge.
Yeah.
Out of 5.
Put it in one of those little half a lemon saver.
Yeah. Who was it that... I wrote that down earlier, but I cannot remember who was talking about lemons popped in the fridge.
Quite often our notes for scores are very, very cryptic.
And I think at the time, I'll definitely remember who said that.
Me too. And then it gets to the day and we're like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Under what circumstances was this
Never mind. That's what I'm giving it. So that is that. Well done, Jenny. Well done, everybody. Not a bad week. Looking forward to seeing where it goes next time.
Should we travel back into the past and do the news?
Let's. We've only recorded everything. That was great, but you've still got some lovely stuff to listen to. Everybody,
I know,
enjoy the next
everybody
hour
wins.
or so of podcast. But we're having hot dinner
great.
now.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.